Thanks, Pete.
Mate,
Pleasure.
Not a problem. Well, let's get into the preview. Our first match of the round is Lakes up against Curry at Carl Oval on Saturday. How do you think this one will go?
Yeah, Lakes are going very good. I'd find them very hard to beat anywhere, let alone at Carl Oval. So, yeah, I'd probably tip Lakes in that one.
Maitland Pickers, your guys, they're here to tackle the Cessnock Goannas. What's it going to take for you guys to get up over the Goannas?
If we can put in an effort like we have against Lakes and West in the last few weeks, I think we'll really challenge Cessnock. We probably thought we were very disappointing against Curry, out at Curry. But our two efforts against the two top sides so far have been very good, and if we can put something like that on the field on Saturday, I think we'll really test Cessnock.
Yeah, I was up here for the second round clash with Lakes, and you really went with Lakes for the first 60-odd minutes. You really pushed them.
Yeah, they did, and the same on the weekend against West. We really pushed West, and it was sort of 16-12, and we were sort of starting to attack, and then we've kicked out, and it's been a charge down, and they've scored under the post, and 22-12 the game over. So we weren't a long way away from West, and they're obviously up there with Lakes as the pinnacle. So as long as we can put that sort of effort in, I think it's a winnable game for us.
Our other round 4 clash on Saturday afternoon is Macquarie Scorpions up against the Central Newcastle Butcher Boys. Macquarie looking for 2 on the trot.
Yeah, I think Central will be looking for their second win of the season too. Macquarie are a good side, and if they're at home, are they?
They are at home, 3 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd probably tip Macquarie at home.
The only Sunday fixture on this weekend's round 4 clash is between Western Suburbs and the South Newcastle Lions. Both sides still undefeated this year. Should be a beauty, this one.
Yeah, it should be a good one. West will have to probably click up another gear. I'm good mates with Stodge, their coach, and I know he's been, even though they've been winning, he's been probably disappointed with him in the first 3 weeks, knowing that they can play a lot better. South has certainly been on fire. I think, maybe in a surprise, but I'll tip South in that one.
Okay, well, there you go. Frank Laws predicts Souths to beat Western Suburbs there on Sunday. Mates, speaking of Saturday football here at Maitland, the memorial for Harry Hoffman.
Yes, we made a commitment to his family that the first home game each year against Cessnock will honour Harry, and the reason it's Cessnock is because he had a lot of good mates that played at Cessnock as well, that they went through St Mary's School here at Maitland together. So that's why we do it against Cessnock, and the day will be to honour Harry, but he'll be the main one, but not just Harry. Murphy Wright and young Jade Morrissey and Kel O'Shea and Dinger Bell that have sort of all passed away in the last year or two. We'll take a little bit of time to remember them.
Yeah, so if you're definitely in the Maitland area, come on down to the Maitland Sports Ground on Saturday. Well worth the effort. Mate, speaking of the Maitland Sports Ground, how's everything going with the council? What's the latest?
Yeah, the council just this week have informed us that we'll be here to the end of May. The starting date now is the 30th of May for the ground, so South Newcastle have swapped the round 6 game with us, which will allow us to play it up here, and we'll go down there in round 13, I think it is. So the next 4 weeks will be at home, which will be great, and then I think we've only got 2 home games, 2 or 3 in the second round, so we certainly need to get some points out of these home games.
Frank, can you sort of believe this is all happening?
No, it's been a long time coming, and we'll go through a bit of pain in the next 12-18 months, but the outcome will be fantastic, and to have a ground in Maitland, that be similar to Cessnock, and it's sort of an in-between of Cessnock and number 2 sports ground, so to have facilities like that will be fantastic, and a rectangle-shaped field and close to the action will be great.
Oh, you can't beat that.
No, for sure. It's you know yourself, the Currys and the Cessnocks and those sorts of games. They're great atmospheres because you're virtually on the field, and you can hear the spectators abusing you and carrying on. So yeah, it certainly brings atmosphere to the game for sure.
Oh, it definitely will. Well, thanks very much for coming on the show today, Frank. All the best on Saturday, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for your time.
No worries. Well, enjoy your football, and we'll be back same time next week right here on Bar TV Sports.
Something that we've sort of been lacking is we've got the we've got some players that we can use some talent with. It's just about putting it together now, and it's showing on the field. So
you tackle, I guess, crosstown rivals this Saturday, the Cessnock go-inners. How do you beat them? How do you get the competition points against the goeies?
Oh man, it's got to start from the mindset, man. You've got to go out there and you've got to want to win it.
So we're talking attitude?
We're talking attitude, man. Besides all the, the game plan or whatever, if we don't come out with the right attitude, then we're sort of halfway, 50% to a win. So attitude first, playing together, playing for each other. And then execution, we've had some mistakes, let us down in all the games that we've played. And, you don't have the ball, you don't win with it. So
I guess you've got a young side, and I guess, attitude sometimes takes a while to develop, But no excuses from next week, you reckon?
No excuses, man. We've had some young players come through from last year, so they've got the experience, man. It's just about, being confident with the individual play and, just putting it out there, just got to come off the field knowing that you gave it your all and that you've left nothing on there. So, yeah.
Do you have the opportunity to speak to the younger guys and tell them, maybe this is where you need to pick it up, this is where you're going well and all that sort of stuff? Yeah,
it's sort of subtle, It's different with the young generation. You can't really tell them what to do these days, so you've got to...
They're always on their iPhones.
I know, man. So you sort of subtly pull them to the side and, you give them sort of an expectation and hopefully, with that kind of leadership, you just empower them to try and be better. So that's all we can ask for, really.
Oh, look, I'll probably want the team to focus on our efforts more than the opposition and what they're going to throw at us. I think as the first port of call, we need to play well ourselves. So yeah, I'm not about spotting players out at this stage. We'll just stick to what we do and make sure what we do is best. Yeah.
And I guess it'll be an emotional day too, because you've got the memorial here for the second year for Harry Hoffman.
Yeah, it is. It's a big day for our club, and Harry's involvement with the club was extensive with all the guys that he was best mates with here. So we put a lot of thought into obviously what's transpired over that last couple of years, and with Harry's family, they come to the presentation night and present the award and the trophy on the night. So yeah, we've got a bit of a history there with Harry, and we want to sort of commemorate his memory the best we can and put in a good performance.
I think we've been a bit too nice in around the ruck. We just we're not really fighting to control the ruck. We're just being a little bit nice in that area, I think, and I think our direction could be a little bit better. We're not the biggest side going around, and we need to find a easier way of, especially coming out of our red zone. We just need to find the easiest way out, and I think in the first 3 games, I think we're just sort of, bashing ourselves in the brick walls there at times, and not thinking really, and looking up, and just like I said, just finding an easy way out, and and putting those big sides under pressure.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Maitland Sports Ground on an absolutely perfect Saturday afternoon in the middle of autumn, and we're here for Maitland versus Cessnock in round 4 of the Newcastle Rugby League, and it's going to be an absolute belter. Both these sides, well, they had bright enough starts to the season. Maitland, they pushed Lakes all the way in round 1 and very nearly got the points against them. They led at half-time. Cessnock got the win over last year's grand finalist Macquarie, but since then, the wheels have just started to wobble a little bit. Maitland lost in round 2 to Curry with 2 blokes in the sin bin, and then lost again last week to Wests. Cessnock, they've had 2 losses on the trot, losing to Lakes last week and losing the week before as well to Central. So both these sides need a win today. A loss for either of them really means they're starting to hover above the trap door 4 weeks into the season. So there's plenty on the line as we see the 2 teams out on the field. And we've got Matt Peterson alongside me. My name's Morgan Campbell, but Matthew, who do you fancy today and why?
Well, it'll be tough. Obviously, the Pickers have struggled at the start of this season. Certainly Cessnock, we saw that game last week. They struggled. They weren't very comprehensive at all. I think Lakes made pretty easy meal of them. But look, I really think Cessnock will come back today.
Well, I think you're probably right. I think Cessnock will be the more highly favoured going into the game. They certainly have got the stronger side on paper, I think it's fair to say. Maitland had their struggles over the last couple of seasons. So Maitland are heading out into the open field. It's Maitland in the black and Cessnock in the black today. Cessnock are in the black and gold, running from left to right on your screen. Maitland are in the black and white, running from right to left. So it's very good to have you along wherever you happen to be watching, whether you're streaming some free Wi-Fi in a Starbucks in Los Angeles or whether you're sitting at the Cessnock Leagues Club. It's good to have you along on Bar TV for round 4. Morgan Campbell and Matthew Peterson with you. And kick-off, it's about time. Tom Aylett has the whistle and Cessnock get us underway at Maitland in round 4 of the Newcastle Rugby League. And it's going to be Maitland with the first use of the ball, bringing it back strongly in the first hit-up of the game. Big size. There's a short ball out the back there, and that's the 12. That's Sebastian Luisi, who played mostly at 5'8" last year for this Maitland side. But he's into the back row here and running the ball a fair bit so far this season. And they're rolling towards halfway already here. This has been a good steady start to the game. The 16, you'll notice, is on the field starting the game for Maitland. That's Jordan Pinnock with the red hair. So he's out there already, not starting on the bench today. And the kick is deflected. And so straight away, Cessnock got a chance here. This is Brett Stevens. And he falls on the ball.
Yeah, possible offside there. I thought it came off the Cessnock player, I think number 11, which is Filippo, into the hands of the 5'8 there. And really, I thought he was good 2 or 3 metres offside. But look, I think maybe the Bar TV viewers will be able to rewind that later on in the delayed broadcast and see whether or not that's right.
Yeah, that's right. So Cessnock with a good early opportunity here, not really through their own making. And we've got a stoppage here. I think there might be a blood bin. Is that what he's saying? Yep, I think that's the ruling. So Cessnock are going to have to make an early change here, or they're going to have to take someone out the back and do a bit of patch-up. I think it's the 9, Josh Dimmick, who's being attended to. So Stevens deputises at dummy half, and Cessnock back inside there from Foran, but it goes down early. It's Mendyke who gets the fumbles. And we might take this opportunity, Matthew, to run through the teams for viewers who might be watching this game without the program at hand. Number 1 for Maitland is Steve Waitford. Number 2, Dan Randall. 3, Geordie Connolly. 4, George O'Brien. 5, Josh Morrison. The 5'8 is 6, Kurt Aldridge. The halfback is 7, Toby Evans. The front row, 8, Pat Robards. 9, Jared Smith. And 10, Rob Mason. 11, Tyler Carter. 12, Sebastian Luisi. And 13, Cameron King. And on the interchange bench, at least in theory, Liam Forlin is in 15. Jordan Pinnock in 16. 17 is Lincoln Smith, and 14 Callan Edwards, and 18 Jaron Costello.
And the Cessnock side, Brent Mendyke at fullback. The wingers are Joe Woodbury and Jade Jones-Antcliffe was named in the number 5, but looks like he's shifted in the centres because Siomi Ma'amaloa appears to have come into the side for Sean Metcalf. 3 is Brendan Williams. The halves, Brett Stevens and Liam Foran. Up front, Noah Easton, Josh Dimmick's the dummy half, and Corey Barber's the other front rower. The back row is Marvin Filippo, Reed Hugo's the number 12, and Brendan Hladd is the lock. And the bench, Jake Watts has been a scratching, and 15 is Sam Apthorpe, 16 Zeb Dunstan, 18 Dan Metcalf, and 20 Alex Fata.
So it's Maitland bringing it forward here, and this is Tyler Carter, one of those two who copped a binning against Curry in round 2. And now Jared Smith. And there's a hint of spear about that, and referee Aylett's going to intervene here. It was Corey Barber in the 10 who just added a bit too much of the twist there. So Maitland are going to get their first chance to go on the attack.
Yeah, pretty clearly a penalty. Obviously wasn't much malice in it, but certainly when you get him into that position, it's always a bad look, and it's always going to be a penalty. It's pretty clear cut.
The referee today, as I said, is Tom Aylett, touch judge Greg Ryan and Brett Ebe. And it's Maitland with the ball again through that 16, Jordan Pinnock. And they're well placed here to launch an attack. Smith gets it away. And that's Aldridge, and he's turned it inside. And Louisi. And they're looking to this left-hand side. And the face ball there to Carter, and he was belted as he took it. And he was always second favourite to catch that despite a despairing effort. Toby Evans firing the ball into his chest.
Bit of a scrappy start to the game. I think this is really where Cessnock fell down last week. They just seemed, every time they got an opportunity, they just dropped the ball in the opposing 20 metres. But look, I think for Maitland today, Louisi is a really dangerous runner. I know he played a lot of 5'8" last year, but he's a big man, quick runner, and he always seems to cut back in and run across the defence and always causes a lot of dramas.
Standard rugby league scrum here. We've got the number 8 for Maitland, Pat Robards, defending at second receiver, which is a beautiful look as always. So Cessnock bringing it away from their own line, and that's Dimmick with the head already taped up. I love to see that early in a game, a bloke with a bit of tape around his head. That's a very good look for rugby league. And they work the short side here with Filippo, who's into the second row today. He's been playing in the 5/8 position so far this season, and Maitland have been pinged offside here.
Yeah, Brett Stevens gone into 5'8" again, and probably not your traditional 5'8", has probably played a bit there over the years. I think he's been a bit of a bits and pieces player for Cessnock for a number of years now, but I think with Lean Forum there will do most of the directing of traffic, with Filippo playing a little bit of ball, and same with Brett Stevens. Jake Watts, I think, last week came on and played a bit of 5'8", but obviously not named today, so it'll be interesting to see who accompanies Forum with most of the playmaking.
Well, there's a chance here for Stevens, and he gets it away, and that's Jones Antcliffe, who made a strong debut last week. Didn't do a lot wrong at all. And Cessnock are well placed for an attack here. Dimmick gets it away. It's a bit of a rainbow ball over the top to Easton. And they're looking very deep to the left here. The winger's all the way back on the 30. It's 4, and it's a long ball over the top there. Mendyke is going to throw the dummy, and he's taken pretty strongly in the end. They had numbers firing at them out wide, but he decided to hold it. But a good opportunity squandered here because Foran's dropped it. It was fired at his bootlaces. He can't really be blamed for fumbling. And Jared Smith was there to fall on it. Maitland get away with it.
But to go on ad nauseum, that's again the problem that Cessnock have had for the games I've seen this season, and certainly a reason why they're 1 and 2, they're 1 and 3 really. Look, great opportunity, and you've at least got to get to your kick in those situations.
So there's one of your favourite players with the just playing the ball there. Geordie Connolly, who's out in the centres this year for Maitland. He played fullback and dummy half and second row for Cessnock last season. Drove the bus to the ground a couple of times, poured beers at the Leagues Club, did the lot.
He cooked the sausage sizzle at reserve grade as well.
That's right.
Terrific player. He's a bits and pieces player, but hard to tackle. Just seems to. He's not a big guy, but just seems to bounce off tackles.
He's very evasive, isn't he? That's right. Well, Maitland have got a penalty here. A lot of errors and penalties so far today.
It's not vintage rugby league or golden rugby league, is it? It's very stop and start at the moment.
This might not have been unexpected. I would point out that in the pre-season, these two sides played out a 36-all draw. So we might see a lot of points and not a lot of tackling today, if that's anything to go by. But Maitland with a chance here, and that was Evans, and he got it away to Geordie Connolly. Carter's in at dummy half. Away to Evans. And this is Pinnock again. And they're set very, very deep to the right here. And Aldridge has it. And fires the short ball. It's a beauty to Robards, who should score. But he won't. He won't. And he's lost the ball over the line. Well, he was always favourite to score there. He steamed into the gap. But the fullback, I think it was Brent Mendyke, we might try and catch the replay. He stood tall there and managed to repel the big man.
It was good football all around. Fantastic ball there from Aldridge to put the second row into the gap, but fantastic defence from Brent Mendyke. There was no reason why you should have stopped him from that close out with that much speed coming from the second row.
Let's have a look at the replay. It was Aldridge with the short pass. He steamed onto it with Robards. Look at Mendyke. Gotcha, up high, good strength.
Oh, here we go. Love to see this.
People come from far and wide to see a scrum break up and be fed again. People just want to see as many scrum feeds as they can.
I think that's fair.
Give the punters what they want. Referee Aylett, good luck to you. So Corey Barber with the ball now for Curry. That gentleman with the generous helpings of locks there in the number 4 is Simeone Mamaloa. And he's playing out on the wing today. Sean Metcalf is scratching from the Cessnock side. This is Noah Easton. And they've got a couple of tackles up the sleeve right on that halfway line. They'll work the short side, and Stevens going to kick here. It's a bit of a dusty old kick, but it's not too badly placed. And Waitford, well, he's had about half a dozen false starts trying to pick that up.
It's like the junior cricket running next to the ball, wasn't it? For a bit, he didn't want to touch it. It was a very ugly kick, but very effective in the end.
No, it was like it was a hand grenade. He was very gentle trying to pick it up. Very important player for Maitland, Steve Waitford. And if they're going to fire, he needs to be doing a lot of it in attack. And that's a good, strong charge from George O'Brien in the 4. And now Aldridge. And that might be Robards out there again, who looks keen to run wide. He's wearing the 8, but he seems to be playing more like an edge back rower at the moment. And now it's Mason away to Louisi. Mason, of course, came over from Lakes in the off-season, the premiership winning club. That looked forward there from Evans. The linesman was right in line and didn't call it. And so Mr. Everything, Geordie Connolly, has to stick it on the boot. It's not a bad kick either. And Mendyke's got a bit of work to do. Really strong chase from Maitland. And Cessnock going to start this set from pretty ordinary field position. So the set didn't end up too badly.
Yeah, looked like almost turned rocks into diamonds there, because I think that pass was forward on the last tackle to Geordie Connolly. And I think Geordie Connolly, when he kicked that ball, may have been in the 40, and it just was one of those awkward kicks that just kept bouncing away from the fullback, but didn't manage to go out. But yeah, you're right. Turned a pretty bad set into a pretty decent one.
So Corey Barber has it, and a bit of promotion through the backs. Reid Hugo. I reckon that'd be, if not his first and only his second touch today. They haven't been going wide too often so far. This is Barber with a really strong charge, and he's still going. He might look for an offload. He thinks better of it. But Foran's going to put this on the boot. And it's just trickling down fairly gently there. And Dan Randall be able to pick it up. And just as Cessnock did up the other end, Maitland starting a set 10 metres out right in front of their posts. You can just see now shot there, the beautiful copper effect on the goalpost up there. I'm told it's because of bore water in the sprinklers, which is a very scientific explanation.
Really? Bore water in the sprinklers?
That's what I'm told. It's sort of because it's a bit murky, it gets on it gets on the posts and murks them all up.
It certainly adds that industrial feel that people love with rugby league. Those hipsters out there.
It's a very Newtown, rustic chic, I would describe it as. I like it though. We'll all be sitting on bales of hay or something at the grounds from now on, or wooden crates. As the kick here towards Mendyke has got a bit too much to do. It's a beauty. It's a real beauty. And Brent Mendyke, I think he was caught a little bit by surprise there. He was in decent field position, but he just couldn't get there quick enough. It was absolutely speared in.
I really don't think there was anything he could do with it. I think that landed maybe 30 centimetres to 50 centimetres in the field of play. Even if he caught it on the fully, all his momentum would have been going that way. Tremendous kick from Maitland, gives them the best opportunity of the game so far.
That's right. It is a good chance they can set up here. And this looks like Rob Mason. No, they've gone the other way to Louisi. Mason was lurking there for a hit up. He's going to aim himself right at the posts, I think. It's out the back from Pinnock, though, and now Evans. And they're setting up down this short side, but this is Carter, and twisting and turning, gets an offload out the back. This is Aldridge. Aldridge sticks it on the toe, and he didn't need to. Third tackle. That's a wasteful bit of play there from Aldridge.
Again, all they need to do, get to that fifth tackle and at least try and get a repeat set. Seemed a bit of a panic play from Aldridge there, sort of just got the ball from the offload from Carter and really didn't know what to do with it and thought, well, stick on the boot. But I think he was kicked about 10 metres too hard.
Well, there's been a bit of decent field position in the game so far, but neither side seems to want to score. So it remains 0-0 on Bar TV. Morgan Campbell and Matthew Peterson with you. 27.5 minutes to go in this first half. And Cessnock coming forward through the 11, Marvin Filippo. And they're sending the big forwards at them again. Here's Brendan Halad. Keeping it pretty tight so far, Cessnock. Not too much expansive play. Now Mendyke. Alec Fatah went up the tunnel. He's just come back out again. He's in the 20. So we can expect to see him a little bit later. Foran now with a short ball to Filippo. And it was forward. So the linesman on this side, Brett Ebe, didn't like the look of it, and Maitland, well, they get away with it again.
But it's where Cessnock going to score a lot of their points. Is Forum hitting Filippo last week. I think Filippo went over once or twice, or came close a few other times, just from that short ball from Forum. A pretty dangerous combo they're turning out to be, which you would expect with two guys with both having NRL experience.
So, what do Maitland have here? That's Waitford getting involved. They need to get that roll on, and this might be a hand from Jared Smith. And he's ended up taking about 15 metres off them there. 5 of them were in the contact. That's a really good bit of work out of dummy half. And now Aldridge turning it inside with Robards. They're sending some pretty savage artillery at them here. This is Pinnock. Evans is looking for it. He's got Carter. He looks for Waitford. And off they go down this short side. It's Connolly now. And the 15 out there, which is Fallen. Not to be confused with Forum. So Evans. And this is going to be a contest. Aldridge went up, but Hugo came down with it. So Cessnock, for about the 5th time today, start a set from their own 10.
Yeah, neither side lacking that punch at the end. Again, probably a pretty tame kick. Nothing really going on there, but making metres at will, both sides. They're both easily rolling over the 50-metre line come their final tackles.
Yeah, there's certainly been a pattern to the game so far. Joe Woodbury here, wrestling his way forward. Now Corey Barber. And it's last. So Foran's going to stick this on the boot here, and he might try and find grass, but he won't. He found the chest of Steve Waitford, and that's not particularly advisable, I'm afraid. And he just threw one of the biggest dummies you would ever see, 10 metres away from any defenders.
Brazen. It was a brazen dummy, wasn't it? I don't know if that fooled anybody.
No. It did. Well, even if it had fooled anyone, they had enough time to recover.
Looked good, though.
Yeah, it was great. I'm not bagging it. So Rob Mason there was an appeal for a penalty. And now it's Pinnock again. He's getting through a lot of work, Jordan Pinnock. That's over here to Aldridge and Evans. And Evans just trying to step. There's not a lot of sting in the attack from Maitland so far. As you mentioned before, they're not looking especially dangerous with the ball so far. Here's Aldridge, though. This looks a bit dangerous. It's spinning around. It's an awful bomb for Brent Mendyke to take, and he's ended up doing really well. He did really well, and now he's doing even better because he's into space. Here goes Brent Mendyke for Cessnock. And he'll nearly be in Maitland's half in a minute. And when the committee finally gets him to ground, he's 5 metres short of halfway. That's a great run off a very difficult kick.
Yeah, if somebody gave me the odds of Mendyke catching that to start with, it's a horrible kick, twisting and turning in the breeze, but took it well and then made a good 40 or 50 metres.
So Filippo now for Cessnock. Can they turn this roll into something? Maitland's defence fairly resolute so far, apart from that line break we just saw. Now Barber. He's taking a bit of territory off them every time he gets it. Foran now. And he's taken pretty comfortably over there. So Stevens, he's going to have to do the kicking. And this is heading over towards the wing. And it's taken very well. It's Liam Fallen who takes it again. And Maitland can ruck it out.
But a fairly simple kick again. Nothing much really going on. Again, another wasted opportunity. Get down that end. You want to at least roll it in there and give your chasers a chance, or at least the possibility of getting a repeat set, but really floating it in the end goal like that, it's only going to be one result.
Just lacking a bit of tempo this game, isn't it? Just lacking a little bit of intensity or something.
Stuck in a bit of a rhythm that really isn't creative football at all. It's just kind of lumbering up one end. Pretty bad ends to sets most of the time. I'm
anticipating that we've got very large viewer numbers today because I would think Anyone who would usually be watching the NRL at this time of day will be watching Bar TV instead. And this Newcastle Rugby League game, I mean, there's no excuse, is there? There's no other football being broadcast. So what choice have you got?
Well, you could pull out the old tapes.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it is true. Old footy is often better than new footy. That's true. Cessnock have got this, by the way. So Brennan Halad with it. It was Reid Hugo who fell on it out there. And there's a bit of roll on here for Cessnock. This is Easton. Stevens at first receiver. As you mentioned, not generally comfortable at 5'8", but he's acquitted himself fairly well so far as Jones Ancliffe heads toward the sideline. Stevens now into dummy half, and this is Filippo. And he's sort of just heading for the centre as much as anything else. But they've still got a couple of tackles left here. They're very flat, both sides of the ruck. Foran putting it on the toe. This is trickling, and Hugo wins the race. Does he? No, the line did. It was the dead ball line who beat even Hugo to the ball.
He wasn't far off there, though. Very, very close to getting there just in time.
Well, I thought for a moment as that flash of yellow came in to picture that Cessnock might have grabbed the first points, but it was a false dawn. So the Maitland forwards rolling on here. Dan Metcalf is about to come on in the number 18 jumper. He's got the interchange card in his hand. Sebastian Luizi's just come off for Maitland. And now there's a bit of a break here. I think that's Aldridge, and he got away to the new man in 17, Lincoln Smith. And they're bobbing and weaving here, Maitland. That's Jared Smith. Good opportunity here. Cessnock's defence a little bit fragmented, and now there's a penalty in very good position. And the way both these sides are attacking, there'd have to be a temptation for the penalty goal, wouldn't there?
Well, it wouldn't do the punters much favours with their doubles.
No, that doesn't help anyone. Well, they're not going to do it. There's none of this Cameron Smith negativity here today. So it's that 17, Lincoln Smith, onto the field for Luizi. And that's his second contribution. Aldridge, inside ball, and he's belted there. That might have been a little bit high. It looked high to me. But he's not going to say so. He's just going to give a knock on. We might try and have a look at that on the replay, but that looked a little bit dicey from my fantastic view about 270 metres away.
It's one of the benefits here at Maitland. You really get a good view of things, don't you?
Absolutely. You're only 3 postcodes away from the action. It's fantastic.
It allows a lot of speculation.
Mm.
And again, people love a bit of speculation when it comes to commentating on what's in front of them.
Yeah. Just to give people an idea who might be watching, we're sitting in the... I'm just trying to work out which pavilion we're in. We're in the Marsfield Pavilion, and we're about 20 metres from the fence, and then the fence is about another 40 metres from the sideline. So Cessnock with it here with Mendyke, who's been one of the better players so far today. 18 minutes to go in the first half, and it remains 0-0. It's a far cry from the 36 all in the pre-season, and now there's been a forward pass, and there's a bit of stench out there all of a sudden. Metcalf getting on the end of a forward pass there, and then just a hint of going on with it. Noah Easton just coming from the field with his interchange card.
Well, we're certainly not seeing champagne football here.
I think that's fair. I think after last night's test match and the quality on show there, and then today, there might be a few people who are starting to think about having enough of rugby league and, maybe playing snooker or something, or watching the darts on paid television at 6 o'clock in the morning, which I don't, I wouldn't judge anyone for doing that, but rugby league not giving a great account of itself at the moment, I think it's fair to say. So this is Jared Smith. A bit of encouragement from the grandstand here, mostly from one person, but all the same. Smith in a dummy half to Smith. It'd be very easy for all the players to name Smith. So Smith plays it to Smith. And he finally gets it away to Aldridge. And that might be the 3 out there. Oh, the 4, sorry, George O'Brien. He's turned it inside. Maitland with another chance here to break this drought. Waitford, flat ball there. It's a simple tactic. Cameron King building it up. It's last. Out the back here to Evans. Carter's chasing through. So too is Connolly. Oh, my word. Connolly's going to score the first try. It's taken a mistake to get him there. It was a fumble out there from the new man, Mamaola. And Geordie Connolly gets the first points of the day.
Well, unsurprisingly, the try coming through a mistake. Both sides have been really riddled with mistakes in both attack and defence. And really a simple error there from Mamaola, but well finished there from Geordie Connolly.
Well, let's have a look at the replay. If you're a member of the Mamaola family, you might want to look away now. He just overran it, really. Perhaps a little bit casual out there, but he just went past the ball in the end and had to reach behind himself to pick it up.
Yeah, probably better in those situations and with the benefit of hindsight to just not take the risk and boot it over the fence. But a try for the really willing fans here at Maitland. There was a few screams in that last that just, do something with the ball, because really neither side has done too much expansive football. And look, I think Maitland will be very happy to get on the board there. Neither side really has deserved to get on the board at this stage.
So Kurt Aldridge with the kicking duties today. And this is a pretty tough assignment first up. That looks all right to me. Yeah, in off the post. So that lifts the crowd a little bit. So Maitland, Norton 3 to start the season, have the early lead. 6-0 over Cessnock with 14 and a half minutes to go in the first half. And that might be the little lift that they need. They've been competitive in every game so far this year and just haven't been able to get the better of it.
But it's the nature of the comp, really, the real NRL this season and last season. There's just no difference between the best team and the last team. Very, very little separates them.
And it does mean there's no easy game.
Yeah, and it just shows you that game you can win by 2. You can scrape home and win by 2 points or get that win that you don't really deserve. It pays off at the end because that could be the difference between coming 6th and coming 5th and scraping into the finals.
Well, a bit of drama there off the kickoff. I thought it might just pitch and spear into touch, but they ended up getting away with it. So Cameron King with the ball now for Maitland. Let's see if they can put something together here. Aldridge with it. And a strong charge out there from Robards, who's been strong every time I've seen him play for Maitland. He always carts it up with plenty of vigour. Plenty of vigour in that defence as well, from Metcalf and from Dimmock. Now Rob Mason. And this is a bit of a stroll upfield for Maitland here. Last tackle. Aldridge to the sky. Let's see what Mendyke's got this time. The chase isn't bad. Evans is coming, but Mendyke does it very well. Does it very well. So Cessnock have to begin again from 5 out from their own line.
But the perfect set of 6 from after scoring points, especially when you can get them to start right on their line, which Maitland have done. It's always very hard for the opposition team to get down the other end. And you control the pace, really, and that's what I think Maitland need to do for this next 12 minutes so they can go in 6-0.
Oh, here we go. We've seen an offload. Well, that's raising the tone a little bit. And Jones Antcliffe has it out there. Now Foran. And Fathar's onto the field in number 20. There's changes happening all over the place here for Cessnock. 16 and 15 are both coming on very shortly. Zeb Dunstan and Sam Apthorpe have got interchange cards in their hand on the touchline. As Cessnock pump the kick downfield. And, well, fall in. Wasn't too keen to pick it up, but thought better of it in the end. Rob Mason coming off for someone about half his size. Rob Mason's a big unit, and it's Jaron Costello coming on in 18. So plenty of changes at about the half an hour mark here. And this is Aldridge, who's looked pretty lively so far, and he gets it away to Waitford. And this might be what Maitland need their attacking players working together. Evans. And that's the new man 18, Costello. Now King. He's a very big unit, Cameron King.
Yeah, named him reserve grade. Would have got a bit of havoc down there, but the looks of him.
I'd reckon. PJ Ellis, of course, out of action today. And this time, Mamaloa takes it. There was a bit of discomfort amongst the Cessnock supporters there.
Yeah, it looked like he had a bit of the shakes, didn't he? Went the old crocodile sort of fingers out. Wasn't comfortable, but got it. And I'm sure they'll give him a bit of encouragement for the next one.
I think it was just that it was speared right at his chest. It was a bit of a reaction catch. But a few nervy moments so far in his debut for Cessnock. Now Fatah. Foran, Metcalf. Always has an impact of some kind, Dan Metcalf. Of course, he had a couple of seasons here with Maitland during their salad days of winning premierships a few years ago. Now, that was Apthorpe, and it had a bit of banana about it, but it's landed all right here for Mendyke, and now he puts a kick through for Fallen. It was all a bit bizarre.
It wasn't two good kicks, was it?
Not really, but almost sometimes two dud kicks can sort of be as better than one good kick.
Like two wrongs make a right.
Yeah, as the old saying goes, that's right. So Costello, oh dear, whack. Zeb Dunstan there and Corey Barber, and now there's a bit of a lift from Cessnock. That's 4 and up hard. Penning Maitland in a bit here all of a sudden. With Rob Mason off the field, they might feel like they can change the momentum in the forwards here. But suddenly there's a bit of a change of momentum up the middle, and it's Waitford getting it from Smith. He might give it back to Smith, and Smith's got a bit of ground to run into, but he's ended up being collared. But they're still playing on. It's Jared Smith for Maitland. Gets it out the back, and it's Waitford again. Goodness me. So that was the same two players passing it between each other 4 or 5 times in the end. Now Evans with the kick. And, Jones Antcliffe's fumbled it. And Maitland are going to get another chance here.
Well, I think I was willing that Maitland try on because I would have been an early contender for try of the season. Waitford in the dummy half, just combining beautifully. Smith all the way up the field and just back and forth. And I was really willing that on, but look, the fumbles again from Cessnock. If you're the Cessnock coach, you'll be drilling into them at half time to just complete your sets, which they haven't been able to do. And in defence, they've been very shaky with these kicks.
Yeah, on their own line, a few of the outside backs feeling the pressure a little bit, you sense. But can Maitland put a bit of a cost on all this?
But you create your own pressure, and I think Maitland have done that well. They've rolled it in past the defence, and if you've got good chase, it's very hard to pick it up.
So Geordie Connolly. Maitland, 6-0 in front against a team that finished 5 places ahead of them last year. And with a full set of 6 inside their 10. Here's Tyler Carter. And he's twisting. He's not far away in the end. But the ball's come out there and they're going to say penalty. There's been a few of those from Cessnock today. There's been a few from both sides, really. And now there might be thoughts of the 2. I think that's what the trainer was signalling. They seem to just be walking and talking at the moment. There's a long conference. What's going on here? We've had the Maitland players converge in the middle of the field, 4 of them, have a bit of a chat, look at the sideline, what are we going to do? And then finally they've taken the tap.
And can I say sense prevails?
Yeah.
None of this conservative football.
No.
People want points.
They do. They might get them here. Here's Carter. Oh, a rainbow. Louisi. Inside to Robards. What do they have? Aldridge at dummy half. He looks for Carter. He goes himself. Aldridge, he's not going to get there. They haven't used their backs too much today. This is Robards going himself. He might have scored. No, he hasn't. He hasn't. It's a penalty because he went right through the back of the man playing the ball. So Robards used Aldridge as a bit of a shield there, and he's turned it over pretty cheaply in the end for Cessnock to punt it into touch and get on with it.
Yeah, for a second and third tackle again. Silly error, but Cessnock really aren't in this game at all. I think Maitland are making meters with ease, really, and Cessnock have just failed to build any sort of pressure, or at least get down the other end and cause Maitland any sort of dramas.
Here we go. Got a false start on the tap now.
Even better if there's something they love, if the fans love more than a false start and a scrum.
People love saying taps.
Yeah.
People love them.
Especially when refs are very pedantic about them.
About coming back 3 inches and things like that. Yeah,
You've got to be accurate.
people go mad for it. So Metcalf. And that ball came spewing forth. And suddenly there's a chance here with Filippo. He got it from Barber, and the forwards are using the ball well here. And now there's a penalty for the shove on Filippo, which might actually slow Cessnock's momentum a little bit, but it will restore the tackle count. 30 out here.
Give Cessnock their best opportunity. I don't think they've been able to start a set of 6 in the 20 for Maitland.
So Metcalf. And he's looking for the ball straight away. And there's a chance here for Jones Ancliffe, who's just going to try and spin and pivot. He can't do it. Stevens at dummy half. He's ended up jumping out of the way there, Jones Ancliffe. Now Filippo. They're set very deep to the left. Again, the winger Joe Woodbury is outside the 30. Now Foran. Now Mendyke, who got belted. Now there's a chance for Maitland to counter-attack here. And they're rolling forward. And now there's a collaring tackle from Metcalf on George O'Brien. Then there was a bit of body slam, and now there'll be a bit of stink and a bit of a shove. And suddenly referee Aylett has got a few things to work out here with his linesman.
Always in amongst it, isn't he, Dan Metcalf?
If there's going to be a bit of drama out there, the chances are he's involved. He grabbed O'Brien basically by the collar there and just dragged him to ground, which I don't think is illegal per se, but there was a bit of body slam action afterwards, and it all blew up from there. Let's see what Aylett thinks about this. We can't hear the referees this year. They haven't got electronic...
It's a bit of a shame, isn't it?
Well, sometimes. So no electronic technology today. They're on the old school
I
analog.
guess those deep existential comments we used to hear and those questions. And
Absolutely.
It's always a fascinating conversation between players and referees.
It is. It shows you the human condition in many ways, I've always thought. As Maitland end up, the sum of all that is that Maitland end up with a penalty and some decent field position again, but I sense that if they don't make something of all this, they might pay for it later on because they've had the running of this first half and had a lot of chances. Now, that's Smith, Lincoln Smith. And Louisi. Now Evans and Waitford. And still Waitford. And they're right there again. Evans again. Oh, that's a big charge. Costello, he wore one a bit high as well. And now there's a chance here for Aldridge, who's just going to try and twist there. There's been a bit of chubby checker action close to the line from the Maitland players so far. Nothing in that, says referee Aylett. So here it comes to Louisi. Second row, putting it on the boot. It's not the worst kick, and it might be another chance off another kick and another fumble. And there's going to be a confab here between Aylett and the linesman Greg Ryan. Let's see what he says. It was a fumble out there on the wing from Cessnock, and I don't know if they're going to award this. Aylett's coming back in field. And he's calling over Steve Waitford here, the Maitland captain. Well, this would be very interesting.
I'm not sure. Maybe someone taken out in the air. I guess that's the only really thing that could be.
Let's have a look at the replay. It might shed some light on things. I don't think they're going to award it a try. I'm certain of that. As up it went. There's a bit of what you might call in the AFL tunnelling there from the 12 for Maitland. Must have been the Pat Robards, I think, in the 8, who just came barrelling through and took the legs out of the Cessnock defender. It was actually after he fumbled the ball. So even if that challenge hadn't happened, Maitland would have still scored there. But it's been disallowed for that
But if you're Trevor
tackle
Ott,
in the air.
if you're Trevor Ott at half time, game plan number one is to kick to the wingers. The outside backs for Cessnock have been very wobbly with all the kicks put in by Maitland so far.
Yeah, that's right. That's the third time there's been a fumble right on the line. But they've only come up with one try so far. And it might be a little bit worrying for Trevor Ott that all their threat of points have been coming from Cessnock mistakes. Even with all their field position, there hasn't been too much dynamism in the attack. Cessnock trying to start some here. That's a good ball to Filippo. Him and Barber are working well out there. Now Mendyke had that charge down. They're going to say knock on Maitland. That's not a particularly popular decision, I think it's fair to say.
No, but I think the right one. I think definitely came off the Maitland player, but very encouraging. I think Filippo's the man for Cessnock. He's a very dangerous runner, very hard to put down, but offers you that offload as well.
We've seen it a couple of times in this first half. Corey Barber throwing in the ball, and when forwards pass the forwards, funny things happen. Well, not funny, but
weird things.
Weird things, yeah. Throws defenders out a little bit. So it's going to be Stevens who feeds the scrum, and 4 on it, first receiver. And oh dear, Williams, he ended up doing pretty well, but George O'Brien come up and whacked him. So that takes a bit of air out of the balloon for Cessnock.
I think Dan Smales through the week will be doing a bit of catching practice with his... Might get the slips cradle out.
Yeah, with the outside backs. Would a football bounce off one of those slips cradles?
For argument's sake, let's say yes.
Yeah, let's say so. So Stevens with it here. They've still got a few tackles. 1:14 left in the half. Jones Antcliffe. And he poked his head through, couldn't get any further. Foreign now. Short ball. That might be Alec Fatar. I don't think he got it down. He didn't. Time ticking away here, 55 seconds. And Cessnock are going to get about 2 plays, I think, to try and level things up. It'd be a real sickener for Maitland if they did. They go to this short side, and it's a pretty simple play there to Barber. It is last tackle, in fact, and they're going to turn it over really meekly in the end. That's a poor end of the set, and really a poor end to what's been a pretty poor half from Cessnock.
Yeah, Cessnock never really in the game at all, and it looks as though a bit of back chat penalty. That's compounding it, really. They've never been in the game at all. Maitland haven't been clinical in any way, shape or form, but certainly at least giving a fair shake of their opportunities. Also, a public service announcement. We're about to hear a very loud noise.
Yeah, so if you're watching at home, maybe just turn, if you haven't already turned the sound down because of the commentary.
You got 6 seconds.
Yeah, I'd be turning the sound down now, just in case this air horn, especially if you're watching with headphones, as the kick goes into touch from Geordie Connolly. And there it is. So we've got 6 points on the board and about 700 burst eardrums here at Maitland Sports Ground. It's Maitland leading at half-time, 6-0. We've seen some of the worst of rugby league in the first half in bits and pieces, in amongst some good moments as well. But Maitland will certainly be the happier at the break, not just because of the lead, but because of the way they've played. It's 6-0 to Maitland at half-time. We'll be back shortly with the second half, live on Bar TV.
He'll get up and play the ball now. It comes back to Smith. He now finds Patberg. He goes out wider. It comes back to Carter. He gets the ball away to Connolly. Are they going to score? Morrison's over. First try after 5 minutes. Oh, the Pickers are on fire here at the Graveyard. They're making good inroad, aren't they, inside the Bulldogs' territory. Here's the kick with the wind swirling around. Oh, what a hit. Moran. This is CU again outside the 40. That's Walker. He bangs the ball downfield. It's come off a picker. It comes back to Neckow. He's got support. Back to Walker. Walker will score. Walker's over. Oh, Morrison couldn't get him. And Walker, he shows everybody here how much speed he has to burn here at the Graveyard. Try and make as many metres out of dummy half, just like this. Here's the kick off the right boot. They're coming through. There's Waitford for the Pickers. He's lost the ball. And Neckow goes over in the corner. Well, 2 tries in the space of 4 minutes. Puts the Graveyard up with a roar. He goes back to Walker. Walker now finds a fullback who's been picked up and driven. What a tackle over there from George O'Brien.
I'm joined by Paul Hunt from the Maitland Pickers. Paul, a lot of history right here at the Maitland Sports Ground.
Definitely, Peter. Yeah, it's been the centre of rugby league in Maitland for many years, for quite a few decades, and many a tight fought battle has been waged here, and many of them won by the club, by the Pumpkin Pickers.
Mate, winding back the clock, the club's been around for a long time. A lot of history, a lot of proud history.
Yes, absolutely.
Talk to us about the early days. How did the Maitland Pickers come about?
Well, my understanding is that the 2 clubs in Maitland at the time decided to combine Morpeth and East Maitland and form Maitland United so that they could join up with the Newcastle competition, and there's a story about how the Pumpkin Pickers got their name. And during the Depression, a lot of the boys would come off the farm and take pumpkins with them on the train to Newcastle, stop off at the markets and sell the pumpkins at the markets. Again, one of the formative moments of Maitland's history and the tradition.
Mate, is there 1 or 2 particular moments that you'll remember from this ground? Whether it's victories or losses or draws?
I remember a moment when Maitland was playing against Souths, and there was a young prop forward playing for Souths. I think it was Freddie Brown. Freddie Brown was playing for Maitland and giving this young prop forward from Souths a pretty hard time. And they were coming off at half time, and the Souths prop forward, his mother was here. She came across the fence and started waging war on Freddie Brown's head with her handbag. So that was a memorable moment. A great moment that I remember was when Merv Wright gave the bloke of Porter from Lakes United, who ended up playing for the Eels and Australia, I think. Porter was running down the field, and Merv Wright, who was half the size of him, picked him up and buried him, which was great to see. Merv's one of the great players for Maitland. 70s was a good decade for the Pickers, yeah, and that's about the time that I started playing as a young fella, so I had the opportunity to be a part of that, and was witness to probably one of the classic grand finals in 1973 when Maitland played West in the grand final at Newcastle Sports Ground. Terry Pano was towards the end of his career, and we had some representative players in that team. We had some players that really defined the game. A player that springs to memory is Bimbo Collins, who used to be able to kick field goals from his own 20-metre mark almost. And the field goals were worth quite a few points back in those days.
Thanks very much for taking us on a walk down memory lane. We do appreciate it, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, Peter, and all the best to yourself as well. Thank you very much.
Well, welcome back to Maitland Sports Ground. Maitland and Cessnock here in round 4 of the Newcastle Rugby League. Morgan Campbell and Matthew Peterson with you, and the second half is underway. It would have to be an improvement on the first, I think, barring something truly extraordinary. We didn't necessarily see the best of our great game in that first 40 minutes, I think it's fair to say, Matthew.
Well, it'd almost be interesting to see if it got any worse, in a sick kind of way. No, but certainly I think Cessnock, number one mantra for them, it was just hold on to the ball, complete a set of 6. I think some of those outside backs who had the nerves, or a bit of encouragement, may just be a bit more careful with the ball, I guess.
Well, there's one of them. That's Simeone Mamaloa. And now Metcalf rolling on, and there's a bit of a charge happening here from Cessnock, straight out of the sheds. They might have copped a bit of a rollicking at half-time.
Yeah, you got Geordie Connolly down in back play, who looks like he's in a bit of distress.
Yeah, back on the halfway line. And he doesn't look real well at all.
Everybody know there is plenty of red and white wine and champagne to sale at the bar.
Let's have a look here.
I've just been reading the book, let everyone know.
Yeah, he's looking like he's in a bit of trouble. There's 4 trainers looking at him. So we'll just have to take pause here. It's been a big day here in Maitland. It's the second anniversary, or the second annual Memorial Day for one of their former reserve grade players, Harry Hoffman. So that's why things are happening a bit later than they otherwise would, because there was a lengthy ceremony before the reserve grade game commemorating the passing of Harry Hoffman in 2014. So that's a big day for Maitland, and has been for the last 2 years.
I think I've seen the magic spray come out.
Oh, really? Well, he'll be up in no time.
Look
If
at
that's
that.
the case, it'd cure anything. The old magic spray. Oh, he's up. See, there you go.
Take that, science.
Yeah. Science 0, Rugby League 1.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the message. So he's making his way back. Can I say gingerly?
I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm. Quite a crucial time as well, really, because Cessnock were steamrolling Maitland there, straight out of the gates in the second half, and all that momentum is gone. But they still have a couple of tackles in front of their line.
A cynical person would say Stuart Broad taking his shoes off in the Ashes tests in
Oh,
2014.
geez, it's a big accusation. We can't go comparing people to Stuart Broad. That's the sort of thing that gets you sued. As here's Corey Barber. And there were some nice hands there from Fatah. The forwards promoting the ball here for Cessnock. Foreign in at dummy half. Now a flat ball from Apthorpe over there to Woodbury, who didn't get it down. He did his best, but the Maitland defence was just good enough. And they can bring it out to the 10. They've survived an early scare, though. Cessnock coming out very hard.
Much more encouraging set of 6 there from Cessnock. Really rolled forward quite easily. I think the key man for them is going to be Filippo, really. He's the only one that's causing a lot of dramas out there on the right edge. He's got the ability to give that offload, and if his outside backs can support him, that's where their points, I think, are going to come from.
So Maitland's turn. Their first use in this second half. There's a decent crowd in here today. Not quite the sort of crowds we'd see for this fixture during the heyday of Maitland a few years ago, when they won a couple of competitions and were a great side. But there's still plenty of people here, and they're making a good din when something goes their way or doesn't. And they're just stuck in a bit of traffic here. So last tackle, it's over to Evans. And now there's a bit of play on out here. And the ball comes spewing up the top there. And now it's with King. And Aldridge is going to have to retrieve this. In fact, it's just hoofed downfield in the end by Lincoln Smith. And so Woodbury ends up claiming it. And again, a pretty ordinary last tackle option, but it came up all right for them. And now Marmaloa. And Williams. We didn't get a team sheet at the start of this game, and when Marmaloa ran out in that number 4, I thought that's the most prodigious growth of hair from Sean Metcalf to go from bald to that mop in 1 week is extraordinary.
Sean Metcalf being a very proud bald man.
Be incredible medical science, wouldn't it? Yeah, growth tonic, that's right. As the kick goes down, this might be a challenge here for the Maitland winger. In fact, it's going to be more than a challenge. It's going to be a goal line dropout. Dan Randall given absolutely no chance there. And that was the perfect kick. And there's been a notable lift from Cessnock in this first 3 minutes.
Yeah, if you're a Goannas fan, I think you'll recognise a very noticeable difference in the way they're playing in these first couple minutes. I think Smales may have, can I suggest the riot act may have been read?
I'd reckon there's some chance that the riot act's been read. I'd suggest there's been some home truths.
Honesty sessions.
Halftime honesty session. I think the basic concept of the honesty session is just telling people how hopeless they are and how much you hate them. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, Russell Crowe, Luke Keary style.
Yeah, that was one of the great honesty sessions, is here they come. And Metcalf's been central to this little lift that Cessnock have seen since half-time. A couple of good carries.
He's 1,000 miles an hour, isn't he?
He is. And now down that short side. And that looks like Jones Antcliffe out there. And Filippo, who's been much more dangerous, a couple of passes wider now that he's not playing 5'8". And it's over the top there to Stevens, who might just go at himself here. Brad Stevens, he's not far away. They're set out pretty flat both sides. And they do go flat to Barber. They need to hold him up here, Maitland. They do. They hold him up. The defence has been pretty good. Cessnock haven't thrown too much at them. But what they have thrown, Maitland have repelled. They seem to like the option of just giving it to Corey Barber from close to the line. Last tackle. And Foran's going to stick this on the boot again. Connolly's there. He want to get there quickly. But the ball trickles over the dead ball line. So just a little let off there for Maitland. It's still 6-0 after 5 in this second half.
Yeah, but interesting observation with Corey Barber really going flat and going to the line. Foran, for most of that set of 6, had jumped into dummy half, so I'm not sure whether they're going to try and play a bit more direct and try and have that short ball with runners going perhaps in trying to hit the gap, because it was very noticeable there that Foran had, I think 3 or 4 of the tackles there was in a dummy half rather than standing off at first receiver.
Now Waitford with a chance here for Maitland. They were just spinning their wheels there on first tackle. But Waitford does well. Gets things going a little bit. Now Aldridge, there's huge appeals for offside. They almost forgot to play there, the Maitland players. Shouting at the referee. Now Waitford over to Louisi. And it's a big hit there on Robards. We're about, as we said, about 275 metres away up here in the commentary position, and we could still feel that contact. And now there's a penalty. There's a penalty here to Maitland, so this is going to present them with a good chance. And Aldridge, very gentle kick for touch. I know that bothers you, Matthew.
Yeah, it's Thatcherism. It's neoliberalism, this conservative.
Yeah, I know.
garbage.
Yeah, the short kick for touch.
There's only one thing worse, taking the 2.
Well, here they come. And this is a charge here from Tyler Carter. He's not far away. Maitland having a little snipe at them here. Aldridge is in at dummy half. Now Evans, and that might be O'Brien out there. No, it's not. It's someone else. And now there's a dummy half charge, and he might get low there. No, it's not to be. It was Aldridge who's tried that on a couple of times. And on each occasion, he's had to get up, walk back 10 metres and play the ball. Couple of tackles left, though. Evans, Louisi, good inside ball there to Carter, but then he was flung to ground like the Pelican sheep station there. Dan Metcalf got him and stuck him on the turf. Now Evans, and it's off a knee there, and suddenly Stevens is away for Cessnock. It's Brett Stevens up against Rob Mason, of all people, who got him a little bit high. Then Carter comes in hard over the top. But Cessnock get away with a bit of pressure and might be able to put some of their own on here. This is Mendyke. And they've got some big bodies charging at them here. And this is Marmaloa, and that's a good carry. That's a really good carry, and that might just lift his confidence a little bit. Now there's a penalty. They're saying it was a strip as the ball came out.
I have to pose a question. Damning indictment on Brett Stevens' speed, or a surprising accolade, or a surprising speed of Rob Mason?
I think there's no reason it can't be both. Yeah, I don't think Brett Stevens will be watching the replay of that one as they come away here with Jones Antcliffe. And there's a bit of a wrestle on there with Geordie Connolly. They used to be, well, they might have been teammates in the past, I suppose. Antcliffe's come up through the juniors, though. And away now, Filippo. Foran. Corey Barber. They're set out to this left-hand side. Foran again. This time it's Mendyke. Oh, did anyone get the number of the bus? George O'Brien came up and clouted him. And any momentum Cessnock were building is over now because Waitford's up the field. Mendyke's chasing and doesn't get him. It's Waitford up against Apthorpe. And now it's Waitford up against Williams. Williams did well. Williams did really well. But Cessnock are a bit scattered here. It's O'Brien who started all of this with that big hit. And they're marching into them now, Maitland. They lead 6-0. It's Randall at dummy half. Louisi fizzes it out there. I don't quite know what he was trying to do there, but it's Costello. And he's flung into the turf as well. Aldridge. Over the top there, Carter. And now Louisi, and now Rob Mason. Good tackle from Williams. It's the third good tackle he's made, and he's forced the ball out. It's taken by Foran. But they're going to say a knock-on from Cessnock, I think. Or are they?
No, I think
knock on Maitland.
Very exciting football, though. Still, both sides unable to complete sets of 6, but end-to-end football at this stage, line breaks galore.
Well, you've got to give a bit of kudos to Brendan Williams out there in the 3 for Cessnock. He made the big tackle on Waitford, then he backed up and made another one on George O'Brien, and then he stopped Rob Mason, who lined up at him from 5 yards out. So a very good contribution in defence from the number 3 for Cessnock. But someone has to claim this at some stage. Half an hour left. Saturday afternoon football on Bar TV. Morgan Campbell and Matthew Peterson with you here at Maitland Sports Ground. And this looks like Zeb Dunstan in 16 coming forward. And another penalty. So they're starting to even up a little bit here. I think Cessnock conceded a few more in the first half, but Maitland have been lacking a bit of discipline so far in the second. And Foran, see, that had a bit of pump. Almost too much. But it did find touch eventually. But they'll have to say a scrum here, won't they? Because that was touched. Will they? No? Okay. Don't mind me. I'm not a referee. So Filippo. And they were in a good position here. Stevens. And it's going to be Dunstan here, who's not far away. A similar tempo to the first half, but with the sides reversed. Maybe it's this end of the field. Dummy half running again. It hasn't worked yet today. There's been about 20 of them from that sort of range. Now Foran. And Mason got him there and kept him. They set out to this left-hand side. Stevens feeding it there to Filippo, who's going to get over this time, I think. He has. No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. He's short. This time, though, it goes across to Metcalf, and this time he scored. This time it's Dan Metcalf who's gone over. And to absolute silence in the grandstand here, Cessnock have got the try, their first of the afternoon, and they have a kick to level it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the silence was because of the try or more confusion. It looked like that Filippo, for all money, had gone over. And funnily enough, it pulled up just short. But, well, I think it was always going to happen there. They look very dangerous in this second half so far, Cessnock. They've looked a bit more willing and a bit more of a chance, bit more chancing their arm, throwing the ball around a bit. But Filippo, I think, is the man. I think he showed it there, coming very, very close. And
here's the replay. So this was Filippo who reached out, and the Maitland player got over the top and held him up there. But they just didn't react too quickly. And Cessnock were able to just feed it across to Dan Metcalf, and he was able to crash over. He scores a lot of tries for a prop forward.
And you're not going to stop Dan Metcalf from that shorter range, hitting a hole between two
No, you wouldn't have thought
defenders.
so. Would not have thought so. So a kick now from Brent Mendyke to draw Cessnock level. And I think that'll be demoralising. For Maitland, they've had the better of most of this game. They didn't take their chances in the first half, and Cessnock have taken one of theirs in the second. So here's the kick. No, that's across the face. So Maitland retain the lead here, and in a low-scoring game, goal kicks like that might be pretty important. Maitland taking their time, just staggering back, as we can see on the pictures here. There's not a great deal of urgency about them. The old term Brown's cows comes to mind.
Look like they've all been struck with a malaise.
That's the most melancholic return of the ball I think I've ever seen.
For a side 6-4 up.
Indeed. So the try scorer gets the first run from the kickoff. It's Dan Metcalf. And Dimmick's in there. And that looks like Apthorpe carting it up. Reed Hugo this time. He hasn't had too many touches today. And they're rolling forward here with Brendan Hallatt. Over here to Foran. And this is just going to pitch. It could be awkward if it sits up, but that's exactly what it does. And it's ended up being a pretty awkward one for Fall In over there. And so it's Maitland who are pinned in their own 10-metre zone.
Turn your phone on.
Waitford's had a couple of moments. Now Pinnock back on the field. Been very involved in the time he's been out there. And it's fed out there. And this might be O'Brien. And a good carry. That was Randall, in fact. Pardon me. This is O'Brien. And he's looking for a bit of space, and he ends up finding someone on his shoulder. Carter, Evans. And now they're looking good. It's Connolly away there to the winger in Fall In, who's inside, and suddenly there's a chance. He's got Evans coming. He's got the 18 coming as well, Costello. Now he finds it inside to Smith. This will be a beauty of a try if it's scored, but it isn't. Lincoln Smith's dragged down, but they've got numbers to the right here. The ball's come loose. What's going to happen here? I think Lincoln Smith's in some trouble. I think that's what's happened. He's going to need medical attention here. But another little burst of excitement in this second half. Starting to come to life.
Well, it is, isn't it? The attack and the defence twice now. In the first half, Maitland made that terrific break between Waitford and the hooker, Jared Smith. And then again, but a terrific tackle in that instance by Brett Mendyke. But for all money there, I was backing again Maitland to just get there, but some terrific last-ditch defence there from Cessnock.
3 for Maitland and 8 for Cessnock is today's double.
Now, if you're at home and watching this, if you've been to the ground earlier in the day, maybe to watch the under-18s, you bought a first-grade double, went home to watch this on Bar TV, you got to get, and you had 8 for Cessnock and 3 for Maitland. You've got to get back to the ground. You've got 24 minutes to get back and claim your $150.
Again, just remember there's plenty of red and white wine for sale.
Or if you want a red or white wine. It's all happening here today.
Beverages of all sorts as well.
Ground announcer here keeps us very well informed of what's going on. Now, Lincoln Smith is up, but is he going to be allowed to play the ball? It looks like he is. There's no dummy half, of course, at this stage. So I'll need to sort that out. Now, there's a Cessnock player behind with cramp. Corey Barber, he's returning. And again, much like that injury to Geordie Connolly in the first half, the momentum just stops in the game. That Maitland attack was building to something. Now they've got to start again. So Aldridge is at dummy half, and now Evans, and he's going to stick it on the toe. It's not a bad kick. It's got to be forced dead by Jones Antcliffe. So that's a good result.
No, I think giving a penalty.
Oh, he has for offside. Yes, he's given a penalty to Cessnock. He's saying that the Maitland chasers are offside. Well, that's a bit of a sickener, really. And now this kick for touch is very bold indeed, and Waitford tried to get up there. That's a 45-metre kick for touch from Liam Foran. That's got to warm the cockles of your heart, doesn't it, Matthew?
Wow, love that unadulterated speculation.
Yeah, just hoofing it upfield.
But
see what
a
happens
for the Maitland fans. They thought they were going to get a repeat set there. Beautiful kick. And, well, they're defending on their 30-metre line.
Yeah, it's something of a turnaround. So here's Brendan Halad. Dimmick to Foran. Cessnock with a chance here to really sink the slipper into Maitland. It's Mendyke who's taken down, and he might be in some discomfort here. He made a pretty sore face there as he went down. Now Halad. And they're building up here. They're deep on both sides. But they've got attackers stacked to this right-hand side. Now it's a chance for Metcalf. He's dangerous from that sort of range. We've seen that already today. He's still looking for an offload, but they've taken him into touch. They've taken him out over there. So that's good defence from Maitland. They've been pretty solid all afternoon, and that's why they lead 6 points to 4.
Yeah, I think this Cessnock attack has been very stilted. It hasn't been free-flowing at all. I think their most dangerous is when they hit that forward, that edge runner, the short ball, and they can bust a tackle and get the offload away. They just really haven't been crisp in attack. I think Foran really looks like he's not getting good enough service, and then that in and of itself doesn't really allow him to feed it the back line like he should be able to. Oh, there we go.
There it is again. See, viewers at home, you're going to get to see another scrum. Look at that. It's beautiful. Look at the way it packs. Can I tell you what the result will be?
And, oh, there you go.
Yep.
Maitland.
Same thing happened. Maitland won it. Yep. We haven't had our one scrum against the feed this year so far. I tell you what, there'll be excitement when it happens. I hope we're calling it because we'll go up.
I'll lose my head.
Yeah, likewise. O'Brien here. Been strong today. 22 minutes to go. It's going to be pretty difficult for me to tell you the time shortly because one of the things about this ground, one of the other joys that it offers you is that the scoreboard is on the other side of the field to the grandstand, and as the sun starts to sink a little bit, it completely obscures everything that's on the grandstand.
It's kind of like the AFL clock.
That's on the scoreboard, sorry, not the grandstand.
It's like the AFL clock, after a certain point they stop displaying
That's
it.
right.
You just don't know when.
Yeah, so you just got to guess. Yeah.
Certain excitement it adds to the game.
Yeah.
Bar TV viewers won't obviously get that because, well, we have that nuclear clock.
Now, there's a stoppage here. I think it might be Rob Mason on the ground in the 10. of course, some of these issues that we're raising with this ground won't last long. They're doing some redevelopment starting, I'm told, in about 3 months' time. And there's talk that whilst this ground's being redeveloped, they were talking about playing at Talara, at Cemetery Sports Ground and all that sort of thing. But now there's talk of Maitland taking their games either to Curry or to Cessnock.
Bizarre.
Indeed. I think the idea of a Maitland versus Curry game at Curry with Maitland as the home team would just sort of
What's
just
the
cause...
custom in those circumstances?
I'm not sure.
Who gets the home dressing room?
Well,
Because that
I'd have to think Maitland.
Curry home dressing room is gold plated, I've heard.
I've heard that. I'd reckon it'd have to be Maitland. You know?
Oh, well, custom dictates, doesn't it?
Yeah. So that could cause a lot of consternation, but it won't matter too much this season because they won't have many games left by the time the redevelopments start. But next year, if it's still going, there could be a bit of discomfort, can I say, a bit of awkwardness. So Aldridge has the ball, and Smith's going to hoof this to the sky, and that's got plenty of elevation. It's a challenge for Mendyke because the chasers are coming, and he's got it beautifully. He's been pretty safe under those high balls today, Brent Mendyke. He's been one of Cessnock's best, you'd have to say. And now Joe Woodbury. We haven't seen the backs as involved today for Cessnock. They've just punched it up through the middle for the most part, but now maybe there's a bit of tiredness in the forwards because it's backs doing the work. And it's Simeone Marmaloa. And now Hugo. Dimmick away. Halad. Maybe they'll go wide now. No, back into the centre with Stevens. Woodbury's calling for it over on this left near side. And Foran jams it down. He's found the grass fairly regularly today. And Randall, that's a very strange bit of play. And now there's an injury here. I think there's a bit of trouble here for Dan Randall, who just caught in the turf quite awkwardly and was jerked back. But it was all very casual from Steve Waitford. I hope we can get a replay of that because he just seemed to stop, prop, and then just dump the ball very gently off to Dan Randall.
He does do that on occasion, doesn't he, Steve Waitford? He's a bit of a showman. We had the big dummy in the first half. We had that of where, yeah, you're right, very casual and just sort of, oh, I don't really want to run up now. Here you go.
And we're going to get a replay of it in a moment as Randall's still on the ground. There's a bit of concern for him. Have a look at this. So the kick goes down and finds grass, and Waitford just says, oh, have that. No pressure.
Do you think halfway through he didn't think he had enough legs on it? Because it just looks like he goes, oh, maybe I do need to catch that.
It almost looked like he changed his mind as he was passing it, and that took a lot of the pace off it. Very brave. And in the end, I suspect Randall will be wishing you hadn't taken the ball because he's still on the deck here. And the game is really slowing down at the moment because there's been a lot of injuries in this second half. So it's 25 past 4 and there's still 20 minutes to go in the game. So
we hit overtime at 5, don't we?
Yeah, that's right. We'll get paid extra for this. This is good. I know our producer, he's grinning. Our cameraman Clay, he's very happy with it. We could be here till 6 o'clock at this rate.
I think Bar TV is sensing an opportunity with no rugby league on to really get into that.
Well, I think it's a great promotion for the game. The fact that there's no National Rugby League, there's no excuse to be watching anything but the real NRL this weekend.
Fact.
Yeah.
What's a better gift on Mother's Day?
Well, that's a very good point. Maybe for any footy fans out there who are struggling for their mums this Mother's Day, maybe just the link to this game in a message on Facebook maybe would be a lovely gift for any mother out there who loves a rugby league or even one who doesn't. It's free, that's right.
It's the perfect gift for the thrifty son or daughter.
Yeah. It's the gift that almost immediately stops giving.
80 minutes and it's done.
Yeah.
But the memories will last a lifetime.
That's right. That's right. So this is quite a long stoppage here. I don't think there was any foul play involved, or was there? Tom Aylett's coming to have a chat with somebody here. Oh, hang on. They're going to stop. They're going to stop the game here. So this might be a bit more serious than was originally thought. the training staff from both sides are out there. The Cessnock players are coming off the field, and the Maitland players are coming off as well. So we're going to have a bit of a stoppage here as they try and work out what's happened to Dan Randall. We dearly hope there's nothing serious and that this is just a precaution, but obviously they feel that they don't want to move him. He did jerk very awkwardly in the tackle. I assumed, seeing it live, that it might have been a leg injury or something because he got stuck in the turf, but clearly there's a concern that something's a little bit more serious. So they've just got to wait now, and I think we might be waiting for an ambulance to arrive.
Yeah, I dare say that's the case. I'm fairly certain it may be an injury to his leg or something, because it looks as though he's laying on his stomach, and he seemed to be communicating with those around him. So whether it's just an injury to his knee or something where they can't move him and they'd rather wait for an ambulance, but it does appear that is the case, that we'll be waiting for an ambulance to come.
So we just have to wait here for a moment. There's both sides have their trainers and their medical officials out there. They all get wonderful training now, even at this level of rugby league. Basically in every level of rugby league now, medical staff, they come out and they know exactly what to do with all types of injuries so that the right precautions are taken. But they've got the stretcher out there, but they've decided not to use it. He's face down at the moment, so it will just be a case of waiting. They're saying it's an ankle injury. Well, it's not good news, but it's better news. I mean, when you have a player down on the ground like this and you're waiting for the ambulance, you might think something very, very bad's happened, but obviously it's a pretty serious ankle injury. They don't want to move it, as you suggested, Matthew, and they're going to wait for some medical professionals to come out and help the fellow out. So a very sad thing to happen for Dan Randall and for the Maitland side. There's 20 minutes and 16 seconds to go here in this game. And both sides now just have to wait. And it could cause, this could really be a turning point in the game, because if either side break their concentration with this long stoppage, it could really cost them when they do go back out.
Yeah, it's always the old drinks break at cricket, isn't it?
Everybody know the game will be on hold, and just took the ambulance arrives and takes the injured Dan Randall away.
Yeah, just getting confirmation from the ground announcer that that's the reason why we're waiting, is an ambulance. But you're right, there certainly it could impact on the game in funny ways, because it looked as though Cessnock, I think it had better rub of the green in that half. And it could really be a momentum killer. It hasn't been a high-scoring affair. Neither side really look like breaking the other's line too easily. So I think this last 20 minutes really could be interesting with 2 points in it.
Well, both sides, they obviously don't think it's going to be a really long stoppage because they've stayed out on the field. So they haven't gone back into the dressing sheds at this stage. But there's a few players taking a seat on some bump pads or on a plastic chair or something like that. But it must be difficult. It may surprise you to know I don't have a great deal of experience in high-level sport, but I would reckon that having this sort of stoppage would make it quite difficult for your muscles, because you cool down and then you've got to go straight back out and warm up again for a 20-minute burst.
Well, you see it with the professional, the NRL guys, that the NRL guys, they stand around for 5 minutes singing the national anthem, and they're out there throwing the ball about. So I think you're right there, that especially at this time of the day, it's really starting to get cold. It was quite warm this afternoon, but with the sun setting, these guys, I think, will be really stiffening up and being hard to move.
So it's just a waiting game at the moment at Maitland Sports Ground, and if you've just joined us, we've had to stop play here because of an injury to the number 2 for Maitland, Dan Randall. He's believed to have an ankle injury, and one serious enough that they didn't want to take him off the ground, and they've asked for an ambulance to come to the ground. He's surrounded by the medical staff at the moment and by the referee who's over there. And as you can see on our screens at the moment, the Cessnock players have taken a seat on their side of the ground and the Maitland players have taken a seat on theirs. And they've just got to pass a little bit of time here until the ambulance arrives.
What do you think the nature of the discussions are happening?
Look, I don't know.
Discussion of the federal budget?
I'd reckon that'd be a chance. There's no reason it couldn't be.
The benefits and cons of
I think there's been a lot of
small
talk.
business
There's been a lot of
tax
talk in the Maitland camp through the week, apparently, about the superannuation concessions, and for high income earners. I think that's a big talking point, I would imagine. Or maybe films, you know. Shawshank Redemption. Do you like it or is it rubbish?
green or red frogs?
Yeah. Oh, that's no con. Haven't they abolished green frogs?
They should have abolished it.
I think they have. I think Allen's did a bit of what would you call it?
Market
Rationalising a
research?
couple of years ago and barred the red frog, the green frog, and the spearmint leaf. I think.
Yeah, well, fair call as well.
Yeah, I've never
All
been
that green dye.
Yeah.
Do you think there were different flavours, or do you think it was just the colour?
No, the green definitely had an ugly aftertaste, I always found. Yeah, it would be interesting. I don't know what they're talking about out there. Maybe it could be anything. What are we doing tonight? Where are we going for dinner? Going to the pub, you know? What do you think of Foucault? Edmund Burke, was he a goose or wasn't he? You know, that sort of
Well,
talk.
I think there's only one answer for that. Isn't
Yeah,
there?
of course. So no sign of any ambulance here yet. Still 20 minutes to play here. I would note that the time is 27 minutes to 5. So usually we'd be out of here by about 20 minutes to 5. So it's going to be a pretty late finish here today. Of course, you don't have to stress about getting home for Super Saturday or any of that because there's no football on today apart from the Pacific Test. So, but people who are watching this from home, I suppose they don't have to worry about it anyway.
Oh, I can have both going.
Ah,
This could go for the rest of the night. They wouldn't care.
yep. I just hope that whatever's happened to Dan Randall down there, if it is an ankle injury, I just hope that it's not too painful because it's a long time to wait.
Yeah, one of the trainers said that he didn't seem to be in too much pain. Obviously, he hurt himself quite badly, but it wasn't screaming or anything, and
Oh, that's
it was
good.
quite okay.
Now, this is interesting. We've got a few of the Maitland players down here, you can see on our screen, just bombing, just doing chip bombs to each other. Just, can I say skylarking? Like the prop forward putting kicks up. I don't know if Robards is going to be putting any bombs up in the last 20 of this game.
Or taking any. Geez, he didn't leap too high.
No, that he caught it on the way down.
there. Yeah. There's certainly not a future on the wing for him or in AFL.
I don't think so. I think he's in his correct position. Very relaxed positions for the Maitland players. I don't know if we can gain anything from this, but the Maitland side are
Lounging.
they're lounging. That's right. They look like red kangaroos. You know, just stretched out across the ground. The Cessnock players are up and wandering about a little bit, or they're sitting on chairs. But no, Maitland are very relaxed.
Well, that appear would be the right tactic, wouldn't it? With it getting a bit chilly, keep a bit warm.
Maybe. Because the 4 o'clock chill is in here. But there is a lot of lounging. Maybe the Maitland players are more relaxed and they'll be better off to start this last quarter of the game. I don't know.
Some people probably say we're overanalyzing. Possibly, I don't know.
Well, that's not really my problem. I mean,
It's the nature of 24/7 news. Isn't
that's right. You got to speculate and overanalyze. It'll be like those people on News 24 who are waiting for something to happen in a leadership spill.
Yep.
You know, and you hear them say things like, you can see somebody on the phone at the moment. That may be a long conversation or a short conversation.
Depending on who they're speaking to.
That's right.
For instance, if they're ordering a pizza, one would assume it would be quite a short conversation.
That's right.
But if they're speaking to, let's say, Rob Oakeshott, quite a long
For a
conversation.
Makes perfect sense to me. Now, Tom Aylett's just come over. There's no sign of movement at the moment. There's still a lot of trainers keeping the young winger Dan Randall company. And there's a fair bit of lounging, as we said, happening as well.
Again, like everyone is saying, is went for bread, white wine, so at the bar.
Now, I admire the entrepreneurial spirit of the ground announcer here at Maitland, because he's talking about he's taken the opportunity presented by this stoppage to try and sell everybody wine. He's put the announcement over again. If he's just reminding you again, he's made it a couple of times, but he's taken the opportunity. I'm just reminding you again, we've got red wine and white wine in the canteen.
So look, if you're at home and you want one,
you'll get here in time if you're watching this from, say, Talara.
just in any canteen, really, I think.
Yeah, if you're in South Maitland or maybe even Lorne.
Yep. Morpeth.
I think if you're in Dungog, you probably have to get your skates on. Yeah.
Tenabit.
Tenambit.
Yeah.
What did you say? Tenabit?
Yeah. Clarence Town.
Mm.
You know, these fantastic towns of the Maitland region.
Last night's test match, Matthew, do you think this game has eclipsed it yet?
Yes.
Yep.
Because it was a bleak affair, wasn't it?
It really was.
There.
Yeah, we were there. It just happened. The match just occurred without any real...
To draw more parallels to the world of Australian politics, it was kind of like Simon Crean's leadership.
I think there is such a thing as too many parallels to the words of to the world of Australian politics.
It was just kind of, it happened and no one really knew why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree. It was a very much going through the motions game. Certainly wasn't up there with the halcyon days of old where, you know, France and England would come out and would actually play games that kind of had some significance because you would have the best players playing for the best nations.
Yeah. I almost got to the point yesterday, or last night, where I was looking, I think they should have recognised that it was a bleak game and had Greg Dowling and Kevin Tamati on standby.
Just punching on.
To just get out there,
yeah,
replace, say, Gallen and Bromwich, and just belt the living hell out of each other just to give the crowd a bit of sport, you know?
See, I liked the kooky old days where you just pick the 17 best players and then just find a position for them.
The old Jack Gibson tactic, yeah.
So you'd have Mal Meninga lining up in the back row, having never played there.
Played in the back row, yeah. Play there for his country, yep.
Brett Kenny just playing on the wing, probably. Laurie Daly. I know Laurie Daly played a bit out in the centres, but certainly wasn't his number one position.
No, it was a very, very bleak affair, I agree. I mean, it wasn't... The players didn't play badly, but it just... Nothing happened. There were no great memories to come out of the game,
If it was a club game, you would think the Kangaroos played perfectly. They played like a very professional side. They held on to the ball. They didn't cause too many errors. They were very good in defence, but for those sorts of game, you want a bit of attacking. You want to see the best of the best, and that really is... And that's what the International Rugby League should be, but you just don't get it. For some reason, it's never got to the standard or to the quality or to even the people supporting it that State of Origin does. And when you think about it, the International Rugby League's got the mix of the best of both teams against New Zealand, who for the last 2 or 3 years have been the dominant force in International Rugby League.
It just doesn't pique the excitement, does it? It just never quite warms up in the way that State of Origin does for people. Now, the medics have arrived. The ambulance staff are just making their way out. They've parked up near the canteen and they're making their way down the ground at a fairly gentle pace. So we're closer. We're closer to a restart here. I reckon if I was having a guess, I'd say we're about 5 minutes away from this game getting back underway. I'd imagine the players will have to start warming up, though, before that happens. I notice in the program this week, Matthew, in the Newcastle Rugby League, obviously Cessnock were given the win against Lakes last week because they're sitting third on the table on 4 points.
Interesting
after 3
turn
games.
of events.
Indeed. And I can't imagine Lakes would be too pleased to be sitting in 6th place on 2 points when they've won 2 of their 4 games. 2 of their 3 games, pardon me. I can tell you on the website, they're also listed as having lost 32-18 to Cessnock last week. So if somebody doesn't remedy that...
Well, it goes against that old saying, the victors write history. Somehow Cessnock have gone away and
been given the
squirreled
points.
some numbers there through the week, but But it's a funny competition, this one, isn't it? The last two seasons, there really isn't much between the best side and the worst side. And I think Central were a good example of that last year. For the majority of the season, I would say they were down in the bottom 2 or 3, and then had that big run of form towards the end of the year, and I think managed to just scrape into the finals. But there's no reason why someone like Maitland, who, look, have probably been the better side, maybe on balance here today, up against Cessnock, who have obviously been one of the stronger sides for a number of years, why they couldn't. They're certainly of no less a standard that they would be a complete write-off of making the finals, I don't think.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. There's no easy games, and everyone's a chance every week. So in that respect, it's very good. And in previous years where you've had, say, Port Stephens, who have been really battling to get players, and they were quite a weak side for a number of years, that made it very difficult. It was always one game every week that you were pretty certain of the outcome. But that's not the case this season, as it wasn't last season. So Dan Randall getting some treatment here, down on the field. And we're getting closer to a resumption here. There's 20 minutes and 16 seconds to go. Maitland leading Cessnock 6 points to 4 in this round 4 game. Pardon me. The reason, by the way, Matthew and viewers, that there's no Peter Jolly this week is because he's off doing Harold Matthews and the SG Ball down in Sydney. The Knights were in action down there against Parramatta earlier today in the Harold Matthews. I would give you the result, but I don't know what it was. I'm here, so I don't know.
Wonders of the internet, though.
I suppose. Well, I don't want to give it away. People might want to watch it later, so I'm just going to say that it happened. But it's a big. Even though there's no test match on, there's still plenty of rugby league happening this weekend. Of course, tonight there's 2 Pacific tests. Samoa are playing Tonga, and then PNG are playing Fiji later tonight, 5:30 and 7:30, both those games. And then the City Country tomorrow. What do you think of City Country, Matthew?
I love it.
Do you?
I think
you're
it's
the
great.
one person who loves it.
I think it's great. I just think it's another game of rugby league. What's wrong with that?
I suppose.
It's always a sickener, though, when someone from your side goes
from your
down
super
injured.
coach team or your club side, yeah.
I like how you went to super coach team first rather than your actual club side.
Well, my super coach team's got much better prospects than my club side. So, as a Knights supporter, I mean, we've got 35 active players, so if one of them goes down, it doesn't really make much difference. But it has been made a bit of a mockery of this week with Jack Bird being picked at halfback. I can't imagine Jack Bird would ever play halfback for Cronulla or for New South Wales or for Australia or for any side that wasn't country origin.
Well, see, I like the concept, but perhaps you need to shift it to... Because really what it's come down to is you pick your young guys, you guys that may potentially go on to Origin, whether you just make it an under-23s affair. They
picked Ryan Madison in the centres for City. He's played 2 first-grade games.
Yeah, and that's where it becomes a mockery. Maybe that's what you call it. Maybe you call it it's an emerging Origin game.
Sure.
But you pick an under-23s side.
Sure,
and
I
then
can cop that. And if you battle, you're always going to get they like to throw a bone to your Sean Fensom types who are always good toilers and put in hard, and they want to keep them looking at Origin and keep them trying hard. I can understand that. But if you're going to pick blokes who have never played first grade before and pick them out of position, well, it sort of gives a bit of a lie to the importance of the game.
Well, it just makes a mockery of it all, doesn't it, really? Because who are you showcasing? Like, Jack Bird is a tremendous player and deserves to be there as one of the best players that New South Wales have got. Now, playing him at halfback, though, a position he's never played, he had a terrific season last year playing at 5'8", but even still then he wasn't a traditional 5'8", or a 5'8" that you would probably take into an Origin series, but certainly terrific footballer and someone who'll no doubt play Origin football. But at halfback, I'd be very surprised to see that.
I think that's the trouble. I think if you're gonna try and sell it as a fair dinkum game, you've got to pick fair dinkum players in fair dinkum positions, don't you? Otherwise, as you say, it does make a bit of a mockery of the whole thing.
But any game where Craig Fitzgibbon is coaching a side, it's got to be good.
I didn't realise. Is Craig Fitzgibbon coaching country?
Yep.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, because Laurie was the coach, wasn't he? He obviously doesn't do it anymore. Craig Fitzgibbon.
But even Isaiah, the guy from Penrith,
Yo,
he second
picked on the
rower,
wing, wasn't he?
picked on the wing.
Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. The Cessnock players are warming up, so they obviously feel the resumption's not too far away. So Cessnock players warming up, Maitland players warming up. I'm not quite sure how the logistics of getting Dan Randall to the ambulance are going to work.
They've sent an ambulance rescue. I assume it probably the closest ambulance in the area, and maybe more for pain relief than just to get him off the field and maybe get him into a more stable position so when an ambulance that can transport him to a hospital gets here. So I certainly don't think that Randall will be heading off to an ambulance in the van, but certainly he's at least receiving some treatment.
Yeah, I think that's right. Just have a look here. There's the Maitland players out there. They're just trying to stay warm. I suppose it's difficult at this stage to know how long it's going to be for them, so they don't want to be running around like mad because they might wear themselves out. With the time being 12 minutes to 5, I think mine and yours and Luke and Clay's overtime is looking pretty secure, Matthew. Money in the bank.
Money in the bank, rolling it in. Hopefully this overtime doesn't send Bar TV into the red.
Big weekend on Bar TV. They're up in the Gold Coast at the moment while we're broadcasting this.
No hope, man. We've got no hope of sending them into the red if they're up in the Gold Coast.
No, that's right.
Split City.
They've got the under-20s Australia versus New Zealand rugby union test going on as well. Well, I suppose you can call it a test. So there's plenty happening this weekend. There's always sport being played somewhere, isn't there? That's the great thing. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. You can find some sport somewhere.
If you have the fortune of having Foxtel.
I don't, but anyway.
There's just sport going on all the time.
I might watch the snooker, that's
some
what
of
you
those
can
ridiculous sports on being, I think, Fox 4 and Fox 5.
Yeah, Eurosport.
Eurosport. It's bizarre some of the things you get on there. I've never seen so many winter sports. And I take an interest.
Look, mate,
Maybe
there's
that's
nothing
more
like...
reflection on me.
Yeah, mate, let me tell you, 10:30 at night, in the middle of winter watching curling, there's nothing like it.
Gets the blood pumping at least.
Indeed. Now we've got a moment here, Matthew. I'm going to do. I'm going to roll one at you here. Origin side. Who are you picking? Assuming all fit. Assuming your Tedesco's are fit and all that.
For New South Wales?
Yeah.
Do you think that there's going to be many changes in the Queensland
Wouldn't have thought
side?
so. No.
After winning 7 and 8 years, look. I think fullback you have to go to Tedesco. I know he's going to be injured. More than likely, he's going to be injured. I know they've said Lachlan Coote, who I don't see as an
a lot of talk of Lachlan Coote at the moment, either as a full...
Hodgson. Not that Brett Hodgson wasn't a bad player, but very small, and I don't think as a fullback in Origin you can have a small fullback. People say Billy Slater.
Sure.
But I think Billy Slater's a very different kind of player, and he's been there and he's done it. Lachlan Coote, I don't know. I really don't know whether he would be somebody that I...
Yeah, it would be a big call.
I just
there's
think
a lot
Tedesco
of talk of it,
could just break the game open.
I wonder, I mean, he's one of those players, Lachlan Coote, isn't he? You've got to wonder whether if he was playing for a club that wasn't the Cowboys, whether he would be quite so dominant and quite so significant. Now, but I'd certainly be having Tedesco at fullback. He's the best fullback in the comp as far as I'm concerned. I'd like to see Josh Mansour get a game on the wing too, can I say?
Yeah.
He's tremendous. He's a big, strong fella. He'll be good for Origin, take a bit of pressure off the forwards.
Well, the reason they picked Hopewadi last year on the wing was the fact that he was a big guy, ran back hard, safe under the high ball. I think Mansour gives you that, but he also gives you the ability, again, like Tedesco, to break open the game.
Yeah, that's right.
And he'll run the ball back strong from the kick.
Yep.
It's hard to tackle. I'm not sure about the other wing. I think Brett Morris is not going to be there.
No, I wouldn't imagine he'll be fit. Possibly, they may end up picking Josh Morris on the wing. But
possibly, yeah, but he's done such a good job on Inglis over the years. And it looks as though Darius Boyd will be the Origin fullback, one would assume, having been the Australian fullback. But football's a funny game.
Oh, it's a funny game.
Yeah, look, I think for the other wing, I'd still probably have Josh Morris.
But then you got, because Dugan's going to be one of the centres.
And I think Blake Ferguson maybe on the other wing.
Maybe that's what they'll do. Yeah, that sounds. Now that he's been picked in the Test side, you'd have to think he'll play Origin. So that might be our backup. That might be the backup.
And look, I think Josh Dugan. I've always been a bit sceptical whether he's any good at centre. I thought last night he was quite okay. He looks. He's very, very evasive. He's a bigger guy, and I just don't think his body can handle playing fullback, running back at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's true. Now halves is going to be the important position. I'm having Blake Austin in my side if fit. If he gets a couple of games into him before then, I'm having him as the 5'8", as a game breaker, runs the ball, has a try in him, big and strong, yeah. And I'm tossing a coin between James Maloney and the Golden Shovel, Trent Hodkinson at halfback.
Yeah, look, they're both offer something different. I think definitely Austin, I think you're right. If Austin can get a few games under his belt, he's the perfect Origin player. He's big. He won't shirk it in defence. My only concern with Maloney, I guess, is the fact that his defence isn't... He's not one of the stronger defenders in the halves. His kicking game is remarkable. He does probably offer a bit more with the ball than Hodgkinson, but I think Hodgkinson for me just pips him at the post. I think Hodgkinson, you got a guy who'll direct around traffic, fantastic kicking game, great goal kicker as well, and that can always be the difference.
That's going to be the issue, isn't it? I mean, if Austin gives you the flair, Hodgkinson gives you the direction, and you've got to remember as well, since Andrew Johns retired, there's only been one halfback who's won a series with New South Wales, and it's Trent Hodkinson. So Maloney's had a few goes there, hasn't really done a great deal. He would probably be next in line, though. I think even if Pearce is willing to play, I think he's had enough goes. The forward pack, though, they've got some good options. I mean, there's probably a bit of a paucity in the back line, but the forward pack is pretty strong, you'd have to say.
I think the back line's strong. I just think it's the halves is where we really fall down against Queensland. Look, I think Woods has got a lock on one.
Yeah, have to.
And James Tarmel, you would have to say would be in
you'd
the
imagine
side.
So. Unless they want to pick Gallen in the front row. But you'd think if you put Gallen at lock, you'd imagine, and I'm going to have to say they will because I'm in Maitland, you'd imagine they'll pick Greg Bird as one of the second rowers.
Origin player.
So they say.
He is, though. He
definitely lifts. I mean,
he's somebody that I don't think I've seen him play many good club games, and he's somebody I wouldn't buy if I was recruiting at a club. But for Origin, he's my first pick nearly every time.
Yeah.
He's won more man of the matches than I think anybody else for New South Wales. In the
that
past.
sounds right.
Since probably the days of Andrew Johns and Brad Fittler in the early 2000s.
So he probably gets one second row spot. Maybe I would have Boyd Cordner as a walk-up. If he keeps playing until Origin, he has to play for me.
Yeah.
Now, we have movement here because after a very lengthy time on the ground, Dan Randall is coming from the field. He's been brought off on the stretcher, so I don't think he's going to be transported in the ambulance. He's going to be brought off, and that doesn't look like a transport ambulance to me, unless they can...
No, but certainly I think having somebody respond, he probably is in a significant amount of pain and would need some form of pain relief, and I think at least being able to get him off his stomach and get him into a position where it stabilise whatever injury he has had.
Well, we can just see him coming across the ground now. There was warm applause for his departure from the ground. It sounds like, obviously, or looks like a very serious injury. If you just joined us or you hadn't heard earlier, it sounds as though it's an ankle injury for Dan Randall, so it's not something very serious of the nature that we often see these sort of stoppages. It's not believed to be a really serious injury like that, but obviously, as far as ankle injuries go, it's up the worst end of the scale. But he's just given the thumbs up as he goes up towards the ambulance. And we should be just moments away from getting the game back underway now as he heads off the field. As we suspected, the players are warming up on the field now. I'm sure we'll pick them up in shot at the moment. It's been about, I think the game stopped at about 4:35 maybe, and it's about 5 minutes to 5 now. So that was about a 20-minute stoppage there in the game. And you do wonder how that'll affect the two sides. You also wonder how it'll affect the light as well, because the sun's starting to go down here. And I wonder if these floodlights are going to be strong enough to get us home if the sun really drops. What do you think from here? Who do you fancy?
It's just so hard to say. I think Cessnock, I would have said, had that break not occurred. I just think they were starting to come to the game. Their attack has been stilted, but I think with Marvin Filippo, he's the danger man for them. Maitland in the second half haven't been able to get going, but again, they're in front, and I guess that's all that matters at this stage of the game. But look, I would fancy Cessnock, but at this stage, I really don't know, considering this long stoppage. It will all depend who comes out hot out of the box in this next 5 to 10 minutes. I think will determine who wins the game.
Yeah, that's going to be the challenge, isn't it? It's only 6-4. It's been a very low-scoring affair. We've got the players now forming up into a bit of a huddle, so I think we're about ready to go. Cessnock and Maitland here. It's round 4, and it's been going for a very, very long time. It was already a game that was running behind time.
Well, if you paid your $8 at the start of the day and watched the under-18s play,
yep,
you've got your $8 worth.
I'd reckon, just with regards time, at the very least. That's right. Now, when this injury happened, the players are coming back to their positions now. When the injury happened, Maitland were bringing the ball off their line, and it seems a very long time ago now that we were watching the replay of Steve Waitford popping that gentle little pass to Dan Randall, and he was tackled 10 metres out. So that's where they're going to start up again here.
Yeah, so I don't know if the players will be refreshed or feeling like they've got to start again. Really, I think a lot of them will be tight and sore.
Well, never mind the players. I mean, us commentators, we've got to refresh and start again. You know?
These wooden seats, mate.
I know. Physical toll being taken. Now, it looks like we're ready to go. We're underway. 20 minutes and 16 seconds of rugby league to go here. It's 5 o'clock at Maitland Sports Ground. The sun's going down. And the game is back on. And anything could happen from here. Maitland with a 2-point lead. And this is Rob Mason bringing it forward. And they're looking down that short side. And it's away there to Geordie Connolly. There's an early break here, and he's got numbers with him. There's Evans coming through the middle. There's the 14, Lincoln Smith, coming through as well. They've all run past it. And finally, it's dropped there by Cessnock. It's another chance for Maitland. And now they're set up to the right. They need to get it right straight away. They've got the numbers. Smith. Oh, it takes a bounce out there. They didn't need that. Pinnock. But great field position here for Maitland. They've started brightly. They caught them unawares out in the backs. Waitford. Oh, and it's going to be a big tackle there on Tyler Carter. It was Stevens who came up and got him. And away they come now with big Rob Mason. Aldridge is busy. He's in at dummy half now. He's got Carter to his right. He goes himself here out of dummy half. He won't get over from there. He's tried that a few times today. And so Rob Mason, the world's biggest dummy half, swings it deep. Evans, Smith, Waitford. Chance here for Maitland. Here's Zeb Louisi. Louisi back inside. Keeping it going now. Waitford. And he's finally going to be taken down. It's last. A bit of attack in this set from Maitland. Louisi goes himself down the short side. It might come off for him if he twists and gets the ball down. It does come up for him. Sebastian Louisi taking a gamble on last tackle. Down a very narrow short side, and he was big enough and strong enough to get it down. And Maitland are out to a 10-4 lead after that very lengthy break.
But again, off the back of a Cessnock mistake, that kick through, all the Maitland players had run past, and Cessnock making a pretty simple error and just inviting Maitland to score there. But Sebastian Louisi, I thought he might have got over the tackle two beforehand. He made a very nice swerving run, but was just, as you said, too big and too strong. Took 3 or 4 and still managed to flick them off and be able to put the ball down. But surely here, from Maitland here, if they can make this conversion, well and truly in front in this game.
You'd have to think so. We'll have a look at the replay of that try in a minute as the kick's coming back here from Aldridge. It looks like our replay function's out of action here. But Aldridge has the ball on the tee. 17 and a half minutes to go here, and in a very low-scoring game. I think you're absolutely right, Matthew. If they get out to an 8-point lead in a game that's only had 14, or will be 16 points in it, you'd have to think they're very, very short favourites. So Kurt Aldridge with a tough ask here. Aiming at those dirty, what did we call them? Rustic chic posts. Over it goes. It looks all right. Oh, no. No. Inches in it. So Cessnock is still within touching distance. And there's plenty of time left. The 4 o'clock chill has given way to the 5 o'clock haze.
Dan Metcalf to kick off. I don't know if I've ever seen this.
Well, this could go anywhere because he'd have a pretty hefty boot, I'd reckon. Yeah, he does. Oh, dear. It's about a metre inside the dead ball line, and Rob Mason carts it back. And Maitland have come out and look full of running. They didn't have this sort of intensity in the previous 60 minutes of the game. Now Pinnock. And Evans, and there's a fumble out there, and it's a chance straight away. It's a chance here for Cessnock. I think it was Costello who dropped it out there. And they get it away. Cessnock heading for them here. We might get a grandstand finish if they hit straight back. Out the back it goes to Foran. Now Mendyke. Dimmick's trying to scheme here. He finds Halad, who's just going to have a snipe at them from close. He's pretty close if he twists there. Not far away at all. They're right under the posts. Dimmick. Flat ball. And it's Barber, I think, who's pushing, and he might have got it down, has he? No, he hasn't. He hasn't. Again, they sent Corey Barber at the Maitland defence, and again, the Maitland defence were able to gobble him up. 15 minutes to go.
But a bit uninspiring from Cessnock. They just don't look anywhere fluent when they try and get this ball out to their outside backs. They're most likely when they're playing that short ball to the forwards.
So here's Foran, and Williams has spilt this, and there's a falcon. There's a falcon there. And nothing lifts the crowd like a bit of a falcon. George O'Brien in the 4. And that's just got him right on the melon.
But again, Cessnock just not looking comfortable when they try and shift the ball out wide. Foran just doesn't seem to have any time or being able to put anybody into a gap out wide.
That's the trouble.
But kudos to the Maitland defence. I think actually both sides' defence has been pretty strong today.
We're seeing something that we've seen a lot of from Cessnock over a number of years now, that they seem to just want to play through the forwards, and steamroll sides rather than using their back line. And when it doesn't work, they can look quite devoid of ideas. So Geordie Connolly, he's been very involved since that stoppage, and he's into them again here. The change in the setup for Maitland with their winger, of course, being off with that ankle injury. With Dan Randall out of action, they've got Sebastian Luisi out in the centres, so far as I can tell, and George O'Brien playing on the wing. And now there's a bit of brouhaha out there between Brendan Halad and Pinnock. And it's back to Evans for the kick. And that's not bad. He's put it between the fullback and the winger. And Mamaloa has to go back and retrieve this, as an ambulance has just emerged at the ground and very nearly drove onto the field there. And now they come away to Easton. And Cessnock battling a little bit here. This is Corey Barber. He's been eager today. He hasn't quite cracked them open yet. Now they go over there to Mendyke. And they might need their quick men here. You'd have to be a chance of cramp on a day like this with the trouble and the stoppages that we've had. And that was Halad. Last tackle. And they're going to go to the sky. That might be difficult light to see the ball here. Wadeford's underneath it, but he takes it very well. He takes it really, really well. And so a fizzing pass across the face of the goal there from Luisi over there to Fowlin. But Maitland with that 6-point lead.
If you're a Maitland fan, you're thinking that clock just not ticking quick enough. Because if Cessnock can bury him down at this end and really start building some pressure, we could really have a grandstand finish.
Well, it hasn't been a classic game, but it could have a classic finish yet. Here's Connolly. Aldridge has played a lot of dummy half today, and he just snaps this one around the corner, but he finds Mendyke on the full. And Mendy's got acres to run into here and a bit of company from other Cessnock players. But he's finally swung to ground. Now Williams. And he's flapping about there. I don't know what you would call that move. It was like the inverted flamenco. It was extraordinary. Legs akimbo there. Now it's Woodbury. And Halad. And they're just rolling into them here, Cessnock. Now Easton. And Foran. And Stevens. They're making decent ground, but they haven't had the penetration. And finally it goes to the sky. And it's taken by Sebastian Luisi, or is it? No, he's dropped it. He's dropped it. Cessnock are going to get another chance here. There's 11 minutes to go.
Not a good kick, though, from Liam Foran. I don't think that went... I don't even think that even went a metre forward. Really.
No, got away with it, really.
Yeah, but Sebastian Luisi got up very, very well there. I thought he had that, but brings Cessnock into the game and gives them a great opportunity to level this up.
Well, he came up with a telling play down one end of the field. He might have come up with a telling play in the negative up the other. And here's Stevens, who just tried to wiggle his way through there. Cessnock with a full set here, chasing the game. Filippo. Still going Filippo. Gets it away to Williams. There's a chance out here, but O'Brien came up and snuffed it out. But Williams is still fighting. Good defence from George O'Brien in the 4. Smith. Out there to Foran. Easton. Not too much invention so far. Now there's a pass along the ground, which has fallen on by Maitland, and they can bring it away. And they have brought it away. And there's a cry of stick it up 'em from the crowd, who have been here for a very long time this afternoon.
Well, I don't know what that pass was. I don't know. Usually in those cases, an opposition has got a hand to it, but I just think it was a very, very weak pass.
Seemed that way. Connolly. And it's over there to that 16, Jordan Pinnock, who's been very, very willing today. So Evans gets it away, and that looks like Costello. Time ticking away here. Maitland could punish Cessnock with another try. It's over there to Fallen, who's still going here, and he puts the chip inside. That's a beautiful bit of play. Wait for the way to Aldridge, who fumbled it at the telling moment. They fell at the last hurdle there, Maitland. That was a brilliant bit of play. Fallen over on the wing. Waitford with the catch, and Aldridge fumbling what was, to be fair, quite a difficult pass.
Yeah, it was a difficult pass, but great work from Maitland up in the lead up to that. They've been very dangerous down that left-hand side with Connolly. A few times they've made a couple breaks down that side, but again, it keeps Cessnock in the game. That could have really been the killer blow for Maitland.
So on they go. And this is Marmaloa. And that looked like a forward pass. Greg Ryan called it. He called it. He pulled up as soon as the pass was thrown. And Cessnock have turned it over.
Clear as they come, that forward pass. If there's... Now, there's supposed to be a penalty for a forward pass, for a deliberate forward pass. And I've always wondered when isn't a forward pass a deliberate forward pass, but...
That was a pretty bad one.
Yeah, that was a good metre forward. But I think if Maitland can score here, you'd have to say that's game over.
Yep, I think that's fair. Dan Randall is being loaded into an ambulance which has arrived. So there was an ambulance rescue truck which turned up, but that's not a transport vehicle. So the transport ambulance is now turned up, and Dan Randall will be off to hospital, you'd imagine, to get that ankle looked at. And of course, we wish him the very best and hope that it's not too serious. So Robards with it for Maitland. 7.5 to go here. They'd even think about a field goal, I suppose. And now there's a penalty the other way. Well, there'll be a steward's inquiry about this. That's not a popular decision. Tom Aylett giving a penalty against Maitland for playing the ball in the wrong spot.
Now that's where we like people being pedantic. And a fantastic kick from Foran.
And they're going to start another set from inside Maitland's half. My concerns about the light were pretty well founded, I reckon, here. It's coming up all right on our cameras, but it's pretty dim out there.
Especially for two teams wearing black.
Indeed. There's a good scrap on there in the play the ball with Reid Hugo, who copped a shove in the face as well from Lincoln Smith. But Cessnock having another go. Easton taking metres off them after the contact here. He made 2 metres with the run and 8 metres with the wrestle. Foran. Good ball. There they go. Filippo. Marvin Filippo for Cessnock. They've gone wide. They've found a hole. And they're going to find themselves level with 6.5 minutes to go.
To go on ad nauseum, he's the man for Cessnock at the moment. They just don't look creative at all. But when they go to him and they go short and he hits that hole, he's very hard to stop. He's a big, strong, powerful ball runner.
Let's have a look on the replay. It came over here to Foran, and he actually cut a couple out there. Corey Barber ran an angle, and the Maitland defenders had to pick between them. And Marvin Filippo busted them up the middle.
They'll be ruining that penalty, though, especially conceding it with the ball in hand. To concede a penalty for not playing the ball on the spot is a coach killer, really, when you could have really kept Cessnock down that end by putting a good kick on the last tackle or converting it into points. But it really gives us a grandstand finish. I'm not sure now. I'm not sure. You might be able to enlighten me on this. It's whether the real NRL has golden point.
Sadly not. Nothing would make me happier than a bit of golden point this afternoon. An extra 10 minutes. What is it now? 5:15?
It'll be until 6.
13 minutes past 5. We could be here until 6. Yeah, that's right. I'm up for it. I've got no pressing commitments this evening.
But I think, to be honest, a draw would probably be a fair result in this contest. Neither side has really imposed themselves, and you would say has been the better side. It's ebbed and flowed, and our side has been better for portions of the game. But certainly, I think a draw would be.
Oh dear! There's a chance straight away here for Maitland. It's Carter, I think, who landed on it. A fumble there from Marmaloa, and they're going to hold things up here because Marmaloa, I think, or someone is down on the ground in a fair bit of trouble. It might be Liam Foran, in fact, but it was definitely Marmaloa who fumbled the catch off the kickoff. There's no need for a replay on this one. Everybody saw what happened. And, well, there's a bit of concern here. So it might be Brendan Halad, in fact, or maybe Brent Mendyke. I've had 3 goes there. I think the last one's right. I think it's Mendyke. Yeah, he's all right now and he's back in the line. But what an opportunity for Maitland. 4.5 minutes to go here. And a few tackles into this set, they'd have to be thinking one, wouldn't they, Matt?
Well, when you think one side might the game might go one way, it's just flipping.
Here's Waitford over to Louisi. Louisi's going to be hard to stop from there. O'Brien's in at dummy half. 4 to go. And this is the 5-8. It's Aldridge. As the darkness comes over this ground, that's been turned over. It's a knock-on from Maitland. It's a knock-on. So Cessnock escape from the drop ball off the kickoff.
It's a funny game, isn't it?
It's a funny game. It's hilarious. It's side-splitting. Absolutely side-splitting.
Just when you think it's going to go one way,
and
you
goes
think
the
one
other
side,
way. Yep.
Maitland
will win it from here.
Win the game.
Yep. No. So Marmaloa with it.
He's had the wobbles.
He has. He's had 2 big drops. He's only been punished for 1. So Cessnock have to at least get themselves in good enough field position that Maitland won't be able to think about field goal late in their next set. Barber has a good run and a good tackle. Dimmick's in at dummy half. He's had his head taped up for 2 hours. Stevens. Last tackle. I can't imagine field goal from here. Foran's not even going to try. He's just going to put it into the sky and hope to force a mistake. I wouldn't like to be catching it in this light, and he hasn't caught it in this light. Steve Waitford's dropped it. It was a very clever kick from Foran because it was always going to be hard for him, and Waitford has fumbled it with 2 minutes 40 to go. It's 10 all, and Cessnock can set up here.
And I love these grandstands finishes because you always get a few recommendations from the crowd.
Yep.
Take a field goal. Take it off the drop.
Yep. Score a try.
Yeah, score
Give
a
it
try.
to such and such. Yep.
Win the game.
Give us a penalty. Yep. There's experts everywhere.
But you were complaining about that board over there displaying the score. I can see
Beautiful
that's
now.
crisp as
That's because it's
anything.
dark. Here's Foran. Can Cessnock find something? Both sides have had a chance here. Dimmick with the ball. 2 to go. Halad loves a snipe from close. He's hard to stop. He's up against the goal. He's up against the post there. There's agitation in the grandstand. Dimmick out the back. They're not thinking field goal yet. That's Stevens. Foran's coming over to the right-hand side. He's going to try and put a play on here. And he gives what looked like a forward pass to Filippo. There's serious agitation up here now. 2 tackles left. Foran over there to Easton. He's taken down. This might be last, I think. It is last. Will they go the one? They won't. Oh, my word! Josh Dimmick from dummy half. Through the biggest dummy in living history. Everyone was thinking field goal. Everyone was looking for the halfback, and Dimmick's thrown the dummy, dived over, and Cessnock, leading for the first time in the game, are going to win.
2-card trick. Put the 2 deep men out there at fine leg. Drop the bouncer. No, he's gone with the Yorker. Look at that.
Look at this. We'll have a look on the replay here. It's going to be a pretty simple replay. Way, dummy, nut, through the middle. And all he had to do was stay low. They were all looking for maybe Liam Foran, maybe Brett Stevens, maybe Brent Mendyke. None of the above. Josh Dimmick and Cessnock, who you could not possibly say deserve to get 2 points out of this game, are going to get 2 points out of this game.
But the way this game has gone, we've seen a lot of drop ball.
It's been kooky. That's
It's been
true.
a kooky game, so who knows? There's 49.76 seconds here. I like at some grounds that you only get at Harker, you only get every 2 seconds.
No,
So
very precise.
very precise here. So look, Maitland, the way this game has gone, you would not rule them out getting the ball off the kickoff, and who knows?
So Mendyke converts, and that's no surprise. 45 seconds left here. Our Bar TV timer is out of time. The ground announcer has announced the score with very little enthusiasm as it's taken out there, and there's a high shot on the player who came through, but that was after he dropped it. But they're going to get an inquiry here. There's going to be an inquiry. I think it was fall in the winger. There's time off with 19 seconds left. There's time off. They still haven't called time off. They 14 seconds to go. It's too dark up here. Bizarrely enough, it's so dark up here in the grandstand that the ground announcer couldn't see which button to press to call time off. And it's wiped about 6 seconds off the clock. Now, there's a report here. I think what's going to happen is that there's going to be a penalty for the high shot. I'm not sure if we can get a replay of what happened, but it was off the kickoff, and it's going to be a penalty to Maitland. You did say it was kooky, Matthew. Well, this would be incredible if they got something here. I've never seen a game like this.
No.
Never ever. This is unbelievable. So
Yeah,
it
through
goes
the
in
hourglass.
through the looking glass, indeed. 10 metres out, 9 seconds to go. Here they come. Lincoln Smith. Evans away. Connolly. Who's got something? Here's Carter. Out the back to Waitford. Oh, crikey, there's the siren. There's not any time left. O'Brien kicks. It's going to be fumbled over there by Stevens. Cessnock fall on it. Cessnock win. Cessnock have it in one of the most remarkable games for so many reasons that you would ever see. A game that was dismal in the first half. Appalling. 6-4 to Maitland at half-time. And then in the second half, it didn't really improve too much. There was a bit more flair in the game, and suddenly, at the 20-minute mark, the terrible injury to Dan Randall, a 30-minute stoppage, and then 20 quite exciting minutes to finish it off. Matthew, how the hell do you summarise that?
Well, if last night was a clinical game of football and boring, this certainly wasn't a boring game, but it was far from clinical. Both sides dropped a lot of ball, a lot of penalties given away. And I don't think anybody would have predicted the result with 10 minutes to go. I think at that stage, Cessnock were 10-4 behind to come and score 2 tries and win the game with 30 or 40 seconds to go. Would never have predicted this. I think they were the second best side for the majority of that game. They were the second best side for definitely the first half, but they get the points, and I guess that's all that matters at the end of the day.
That's right. So Cessnock 16, Maitland 10. It's about 25 past 5. It's the longest game I've ever attended, I must say, and we're wrapping up here on Bar TV. Thank you very much for bearing with us through this afternoon, but I think you would agree that grandstand finish that we had there made it all well and truly worthwhile. It's Matthew Peterson and myself, Morgan Campbell, signing off from Maitland Sports Ground. Cessnock getting the chocolates today in bizarre circumstances in the pitch black at the end of the game here. 16 points to 10.